At the graduation ceremony, the ice-cold campus queen declared her love for me in front of tens of thousands of students and faculty. She wanted to possess me, but I shook my head and refused. I knew I was just a disposable part of the blind box dating game played by those wealthy young nobles. Faced with my rejection, she simply gave a polite nod and walked away. The next day, at 4 in the morning, she boarded a flight to study abroad. I, as always, hurried to secure my spot to sell breakfast before dawn. 8 years later, I held my gravely ill son, clutching the last 7,000 yuan I had, and boarded the train to the capital. After reviewing the medical records, the doctor shook his head. In all of the capital, he said, there is likely only one doctor who can perform this surgery. She's an expert who just returned from overseas. She's operated on a patient with a case similar to your son's. As he spoke, he spotted a woman behind me and called out in surprise. Come, let me introduce you. This is her, Dr. Lu Ruyan. For a moment, I wondered if it was a coincidence of names. Then I turned around and saw, above the mask, those dark, indifferent eyes. This was my first time back in the capital in 8 years. After getting off the train, I headed straight for the city's most renowned cardiac hospital. And the first person I ran into was the one I least wanted to see in this lifetime. Lu Ruyan's first words were directed to Dr. Zhao. She glanced at me briefly before looking away, her tone perfectly unruffled. I understand. Please take this family member to my office to wait. I need to do my rounds. Clearly, Lu Ruyan hadn't recognized me. Earlier, outside the hospital, I rushed too fast and tripped on a speed bump. My only thought was whether Ran was hurt, and I hadn't noticed the skin scraped right off my arm and palm. Dr. Zhao had a cheerful face and a warm heart. As she treated my wounds, she couldn't help but chide me gently. Even for your son's sake, you have to take care of yourself first, right? Look how thin you are. When he gets bigger, you won't even be able to lift him. I looked down. My 5-year-old jacket was dingy, the collar and cuffs fraying. My arms were so thin they were nearly skeletal. I felt a weariness and exhaustion that seemed about to spill over. Since Ran was born, I'd been traveling constantly to find doctors for him, rarely getting a single full night's sleep. A while ago, I ran into a high school classmate in Nanjing. He was visibly shocked by my appearance and said he barely recognized me. All right, I pulled myself together. Thank you, doctor. I'm going to disinfect this now. It will sting a little, so try to bear it. Ran was snuggled in my arms, his eyes fixed on Dr. Zhao's movements. When he heard the word sting, he suddenly twisted around, hugged my neck, and in a soft, childish voice, kissed my eyes. Daddy, kiss, no ouch. Whenever he got a shot before, I would cover his eyes and kiss his cheek to distract him. So in his world, ouch could be replaced by a kiss. Ran's kiss really made the pain go away. I switched hands to apply the ointment, holding Ran even tighter with my free arm. Your son is so handsome. Dr. Zhao's voice suddenly went up an octave. His name is Anren, right? Such a lovely name. So young and already taking care of his daddy. What a good boy. How old are you, Ran? Are you going to kindergarten soon? Ran blinked his eyes and answered seriously. Daddy also loves Ran. 3 years old. No, Ran go hospital. Ran started talking later than most children, and his speech was still a little choppy, coming out one word at a time. Dr. Zhao closed her kit and patted Ran's head. Ran will get better. Then you can go to kindergarten and play with the other children. She then turned and comforted me. Don't worry, my sister in medicine will be back soon. We'll talk about Ran's condition in detail later. Oh, by the way, my sister in medicine is Dr. Lu Ruyan. No wonder. She and Lu Ruyan were quite familiar with each other. Dr. Zhao had opened the floodgates, and I couldn't even get a word in. Don't let her age fool you. Her SCI publications are several times mine. When I met her in Germany, she was 3 years behind me. 6 years later, the girl graduated with a PhD right alongside me. One of the old professors in our department is the most famous authority on cardiology. He's absolutely fierce with everyone, but he's sweet to her. He didn't just take her on as his last disciple after graduation. He practically snatched her away to his own research institute. I wasn't surprised. I remembered in high school, Lu Ruyan got perfect scores in biology and chemistry every single time. The teachers for those two subjects would have stars in their eyes whenever they saw her. Speaking of which, do you know my sister in medicine? Dr. Zhao's eyes darted back and forth. I have a feeling the atmosphere between you two is a little off. I froze for a moment. I don't think so, but Dr. Zhao seemed to trust her gut. Did you know Dr. Lu before? I had to admit, Dr. Lu and I were indeed high school classmates. Just as expected, Dr. Zhao immediately pulled me in for gossip. Did Lu Rian ever date in high school? I thought it over. I haven't heard anything, but I don't know the specifics. I knew it. Dr. Zhao slapped her thigh. That girl said it was too noisy in Germany and couldn't be bothered to go to any parties. Every day, she was either in her dorm or stuck in the lab. On the very first day of school, there happened to be a fashion show on the next street. Someone mistook Lu Rian for a model who'd wandered off, snapped a few photos, and started asking around. She instantly became famous at our school. Everyone was betting on how long it would take for someone to win her over. But, amazingly, it didn't happen in college, and she even graduated with her PhD without a single guy managing to take her out. She's so gorgeous. Ugh, who would have thought? What a waste of that face. Lu Rian certainly had a face that looked like it belonged in a romance novel. Her phoenix eyes were stunning, with sharp brow bones, long outer corners, and long lashes. When she lifted her gaze to look at people, it always carried a kind of casual coolness. She looked exactly like one of those heartbreakers, a femme fatale, who was righteously impatient. But I heard her deeply established family had strict rules. Moreover, Lu Rian herself had a normal moral compass. She wasn't just well-behaved, she was even surprisingly innocent when it came to relationships. At least, the Lu Rian from 8 years ago was. But, that girl is finally getting a bloom out of the dead wood, Dr. Zhao said mysteriously. This year, she suddenly gave up a brilliant future and decided to return home. Apparently, it's because of a senior student from the neighboring team. He's the star pupil of another professor in our department, and his family is a generations-long acquaintance of the Lius. Their grandfathers were old war buddies. Tell me, who else in the world could be a better match? I listened quietly. They're definitely a match. Childhood sweethearts, a couple destined by fate. Their eventual coming together is straight out of a fairy tale. It's a shame they were both so clueless before, only caring about research. It wasn't until the senior student came back a few months ago that Lu Rian probably realized she needed to hurry. She eagerly followed him right back. And the senior student came to the second hospital, so did Lu Rian. Tell me, what else could this be but a romance? I nodded in agreement. It doesn't seem like a coincidence. Exactly. Lu Rian is just stubborn. See, she came thousands of miles chasing her man. By the way, Lu Rian never dated in high school. But she must have liked someone, right? What was she like when she pursued a guy? Did she ever confess to anyone? I awkwardly lowered my head. I don't know. I wasn't close to Dr. Lu in high school. Dr. Zhao sounded a little disappointed. Well, she really doesn't have many friends with that personality. Before she could finish, 2 knocks came from behind us. Lu Rian slowly withdrew her hand. What are you two talking about? Nothing, nothing. Dr. Zhao said, feeling guilty. The director needs me. I'm going now, bye. You two chat. Lu Rian probably didn't hear our conversation, and she still hadn't remembered who I was. Lu Rian and I were desk mates for half a year in our final year. She wasn't talkative, and I was too busy studying, busy earning money. At school, I was basically head down, rushing homework. I had to finish the day's assignments before school ended. That way, I would have time to do laundry and cook, prepare ingredients, knead dough, and grind soy milk when I got home. Then, the next day, at 4 in the morning, I'd wake up to help my brother steam buns, secure a stall, and sell breakfast. Being desk mates for so long, we naturally developed some silent understanding. For example, I sat on the inside, next to the wall. Lu Rian probably found it troublesome for me to climb in and out, so she would always get water for me when she went. For instance, I knew Lu Rian had a bit of OCD, so when I collected her papers, I would fold them neatly for her. For instance, when I was secretly rushing homework in class, if the teacher was about to leave the podium, Lu Rian would subtly tap my desk as a warning. And I would routinely make Lu Rian a sticky rice chicken without mushrooms in the morning. However, the total number of words we spoke to each other a day probably didn't exceed 5. Aside from those 6 months as desk mates and Lu Rian's unexpected confession at graduation, at the end of the day, we really weren't very close. So when Dr. Zhao asked, I was just telling the truth. So, It was normal that Lu Ruyin didn't remember me. I've reviewed the medical records. Lu Ruyin glanced at Ranran, sleeping in my arms. She didn't waste a single word. After sitting down, she got straight to the point. I need to know some details now. She asked about Ranran's medical history and surgeries in exhaustive detail, typing notes on her computer, deeply focused. Just as she was finishing, Lu Ruyin was scrolling the mouse when she suddenly asked, "You've handled all of the child's surgeries alone. Where is your wife?" I replied without thinking, "She's quite busy. I've accompanied him to all the surgeries. Anything else you need to know, you can ask me." Lu Ruyin's hand paused. She looked up at me. Her eyes seemed much darker than average. Busy? What could be so busy? More important than her own son? I was speechless for a moment. Fortunately, Lu Ruyin seemed to have asked it casually. She picked up the medical records again, her brow slightly furrowed. "The child's condition is quite complex." My heart leapt into my throat. I was so nervous I could hear a faint ringing in my ears. "He is too young." Her judgmental voice sounded like it was coming from behind a sheet of glass, far away. The specific details are also different from the other patient I treated before. As she spoke, Lu Ruyin seemed ready to set down the medical records. My heart skipped a beat. I instinctively gripped her arm in panic. "Doctor, please." Afraid of waking Ranran, I kept my voice very low. "Please save my son. He's only 3 years old." A glimmer of hope had finally appeared for Ranran's illness. And if even Lu Ruyin refused the case, I quickly pulled out the thin envelope I'd been carrying and pressed it into her hand. Lu Ruyin paused, looking down at the item in her hand. After a moment, she slightly narrowed her eyes, staring directly at me. "Are you trying to bribe me?" I was slow to realize the stupid thing I had done. Over the years, I'd become accustomed to the social rule of thumb that money makes things easier. But I forgot that with the power and status of the Lu family, squandering money would be commonplace for Lu Ruyin if she wished. Her life could have been easy and smooth. Yet, she had traveled to Germany to study medicine for 8 years, dedicating herself to the craft. To her, my money was probably nothing short of an insult. I didn't mean anything by it. I forced a smile. "Ranran's case is complicated. I just wanted to thank you." I tried hard to hide and sugarcoat it. But when I looked up, I clearly saw my reflection in the promotional board. My face was a portrait of vulgarity, shrewdness, and fawning. It was terribly ugly. Lu Ruyin suddenly looked away. She stared at the medical records for a moment. "The surgery I can do. And if it's successful, the child can live a perfectly normal life." But she paused. "The success rate is likely less than 50%. 50%, I repeated instinctively. I couldn't tell if I felt more happiness or more worry at that moment. My mind just felt like a confused and bewildered mess. 50% is the highest figure I can give you after comprehensive consideration. And any surgery carries a risk. No one can guarantee the outcome. You need to be mentally prepared for that." "I know. 50% is not bad." My voice slowly dropped. "Before, the doctors all said Ranran wouldn't live past 5. Process the hospital admission as soon as possible. He's at risk of cardiac arrest at any time. As for the surgery, I will do my absolute best." Lu Ruyin's calm voice somehow brought me a measure of peace. "How much will the entire procedure cost?" "The child's condition is quite complex. Multiple coronary artery lesions, severe vascular blockage, and the cardiac stent has to be custom-made overseas. Plus medication, hospitalization, and other miscellaneous costs." Lu Ruyin paused. "It will likely be 400,000. 400,000. I instinctively clenched my hand. The envelope I gave her had 1,000 yuan. I had just over 5,000 left in my phone and bank card. Even adding it all up, it probably wouldn't cover Ranran's treatment for a single day. "All right, I will pay the full amount as quickly as possible." Lu Ruyin gathered the medical records and handed them to me. "The surgery is tentatively scheduled for the end of the month. There's no rush." She glanced at the envelope on the table. "I'll directly credit this to your treatment card, and the relevant fees can be deducted from it later." I met the senior student, Chun Zhe, that Dr. Zhao had mentioned. He was from pediatrics and participated in Ranran's surgical consultation. Dr. Chun was excellent. His medical skill and reputation were famously good at the second hospital. He was both handsome and gentle, always speaking to Ranran in a soft, low voice with a smile. After Ranran found out he had to have another surgery, he became a little sad. He tugged at my clothes and whispered in my ear, "Daddy, Ranran doesn't want to stay in the hospital. Ranran wants to go home." My nose suddenly stung. Ranran used to be very cooperative with medication, shots, and surgery. He would watch his little clock, and when it was time for medicine, he would run over to me. He never needed to be coaxed. It wasn't until last year, when he fell ill, that he had 2 surgeries at the Nanching hospital and stayed for a long time. I took care of Ranran while earning money, sleeping only 3 or 4 hours a night. My dark circles and bloodshot eyes couldn't be hidden. After he was discharged, Ranran became reluctant to go to the hospital. When I first asked why, he buried his head and refused to say. Then one day, he finally spoke up. "Daddy, you should find a new child and be their daddy." He said, "Being Ranran's daddy is too tiring. Ranran doesn't want to go to the hospital anymore. Ranran just wants Daddy to sleep well. Daddy, can we go home?" Ranran asked again in a tiny voice. I swallowed several times, trying to choke down the sob in my throat. "Be a good boy, Ranran. This is just a small operation. Daddy has money. Once the surgery is over, Daddy will take you home, okay?" Unfortunately, the child was older and harder to fool. Even after Lu Ruyan and Dr. Chun had finished checking the other 2 patients in the ward, the little guy still wouldn't speak, only rubbing his head against my neck. "What's wrong, Ranran? Are you scared of the surgery?" Dr. Chin pulled a piece of candy from his pocket like a magic trick. He gently stroked Ranran's little head. But Dr. Lu said this surgery could completely cure Ranran's illness. So we definitely have to try, right? After this, our Ranran can go to school and be healthy just like all the other children. Ranran finally looked up, his eyes brimming with tears. Ranran doesn't want to go to school. Ranran just wants to be with Daddy. Lu Ruyan suddenly spoke up. "Ranran." She crouched down, her tone gentle and her voice clear. "Do you want to stay with Daddy forever and protect him when you grow up?" Ranran nodded without hesitation and said in a baby voice, "Ranran does." "Then Ranran should definitely have the surgery and get better quickly, right?" Ranran tilted his head and thought for 2 seconds, then nodded. But he quickly shook his head again. "But Daddy is tired." Lu Ruyan was very patient. "Daddy is tired because Daddy loves you, just like you love Daddy. Daddy wants you to be healthy and happy, just like you want Daddy not to be so tired. What's different is that Daddy is a grown-up. Grown UPS have the job and ability to work, earn money, and take care of children. And Ranran is still a little kid. A little kid's responsibility is to grow up happy. Only when you're big can you truly love Daddy, take care of Daddy, and make sure Daddy isn't so tired, right?" Ranran was dizzied by her long explanation. His big eyes blinked. He looked back at me, then at Lu Ruyan. Finally, with 3 parts of confusion and 4 parts of bewilderment, he nodded. Dr. Chen laughed at his half-understanding little expression. "He's so cute. Look at his face. It's great to have a son so sweet and thoughtful." His eyes curved into crescents. The 2 of them, standing side by side, were pleasant to look at and a perfect match. Lu Ruyan couldn't help but curl her lips into a smile, a hint of softness on her face, thinking of who knows what. By Ranran's 3rd day in the hospital, he had won the affection of all the doctors and nurses in the department. Every time they did rounds, they loved to tease him. The little guy was thin-skinned, he'd blush and try to burrow into my arms when teased, but he also didn't want to be rude by turning his back on them. So he would blush while giving serious, baby-voiced responses, looking utterly adorable. Our ward was a 4-bedroom. The next day, a little girl named Lu YY moved into the last empty bed. The child had a round face that any grandparent would adore, and she wore various items gold or jade around her plump neck and wrists. Her father was in his early 30s, well-dressed and handsome. Since arriving, he'd been frowning, and his slanted eyes had shot a look of disgust at our 3 beds. "Weiwei, don't let your jade pendant show. You might get robbed." The family members of the other 2 patients immediately flushed red. "Sir, what do you mean? Did I say you?" Eagerly claiming it must mean you're guilty, right? He shoved Lu Weiwei's jewelry back under her collar, then walked up to Lu Ruyan very familiarly. "Little Lu, your family is close with ours, and you're best friends with Shen Yuchu. You really should arrange a private room for us. It's too noisy here, with all sorts of people. Who knows what they do?" He said arrogantly. "If Shen Yuchu hadn't recommended you, I wouldn't have brought Weiwei to a hospital where you have to wait half an hour for an elevator." "Shen Yuchu, My fingers went rigid for a second. I hadn't realized they were part of the Shin family. Lu Rian was recording the heart rate of the patient next door, and she didn't look up. My parents have business dealings with the Shuns, I don't. Not only you, but even Shin Yuchu wouldn't get a private room. If you're looking for special treatment, you can transfer hospitals. If you don't like it here, you're welcome to choose another hospital. Furthermore, if you're unable to safeguard your valuables, I suggest you transfer as well. That Mr. Lu gave a forced chuckle and finally kept quiet. Ranran leaned into my ear and whispered, "Daddy, was she talking about Aunt Shun?" "Yes, but can Ranran pretend not to know Aunt Shun from now on?" I was racking my brain for how to explain it, but he nodded in agreement without asking a single question. Since that father and daughter moved into bed number 2, the ward became exceptionally noisy. Many people came to visit, carrying expensive gifts, and their conversations constantly revolved around Lu Weiwei's powerful mother. Lu Weiwei was very smug. She turned to Ranran and boasted, "Hey, does no one come to see you? How pathetic." Ranran didn't understand. "I have Daddy, isn't that enough?" Seeing her words were falling on deaf ears, she rolled her eyes and went to seek attention from the children in the other 2 beds. It wasn't until Lu Rian warned them sternly, "If you keep disturbing other patients' rest, you'll all pack up and leave," that the number of visitors gradually decreased. In the afternoon, Mr. Lu personally went to pick up a little girl who had just finished school and brought her to the hospital. The girl was exceptionally pretty, tall and small-faced, with a kind of cool elegance in her features. She was the exact opposite of the round-faced, soft-featured Lu Weiwei. But Mr. Lu said she was also his daughter. "Hello, aunts and uncles. My name is Lu Ji." This little girl was much more polite than Lu Weiwei, greeting everyone individually after she came in. Dr. Zhao casually asked her age. 6 years old. "I'm exactly 1 month older than my stepdad's daughter." The ward fell instantly silent. Everyone had accidentally eavesdropped on a family secret of the wealthy. Even a chatterbox like Dr. Zhao was so awkward that she didn't know what to say. Mr. Lu, however, seemed unaware. "Even though Aji isn't my biological daughter, I've raised her since she was small, and she's no different from my own. As long as both sisters can grow up safe and healthy, I'll be completely satisfied." Lu Ji's face remained perfectly innocent. "Yes, ever since my sister's heart got sick, my stepdad has been nicer to me. He not only lets me eat at the table, but also takes me out every day and often hires doctors to come home and give me checkups. My stepdad is so good to me, so my sister is naturally like my own little sister. Oh, if only I could accidentally die one day and donate my heart to my sister." Mr. Lu's smile froze on his lips. Dr. Zhao's face instantly changed. She said sternly, "Sir, regarding this matter, our hospital will file a report with the police shortly. If anything unfortunate happens to your stepdaughter in the future, you will be the primary suspect. She's talking nonsense. Don't believe her." Mr. Lu flew into a rage, pointing at Lu Ji's nose. "When did I ever stop you from eating at the table? You're the one who's always running around and not coming home. No wonder you've been putting on an act and being so obedient these past few months. You've got such a conniving little mind. She's only 6. What could she possibly understand?" Dr. Zhao frowned. "Also, have you ever entertained illegal thoughts? We'll know for sure once the police investigate, won't we?" Mr. Lu's arrogance suddenly faltered. "I was worried she might get sick like Weiwei, so I was giving her a physical." He muttered a few excuses. "Anyway, don't be fooled by that little girl. She's a monster. Her heart is black." I glanced back. Lu Ji was standing in the corner, looking completely innocent. She didn't talk back, and her tiny figure looked very pitiful. After Mr. Lu hurriedly left with Lu Weiwei, she seemed forgotten in the ward. "Aunts and uncles, I'm sorry to have disturbed your rest." Her voice was low, and she looked about to cry, which made Dr. Zhao and the other family members feel terribly sorry for her. Ranran had been sleeping all afternoon. It wasn't until he was woken by Mr. Lu's angry shouts that he poked his head out of the blankets, full of curiosity. Lu Ji heard the noise and looked over. Then, she blinked twice and accidentally let slip the single tear that had been hovering for ages. Mr. Lu took Lu Weiwei and transferred to a private hospital, never to be seen again. Instead, Lu Ji started frequently running to the second hospital to play with Ranran. At first, I was reluctant to let Ranran associate with anyone from the Shin family. But Ranran really loved playing with her. Due to his health and personality, Ranran never had many friends growing up, and he rarely spoke to other children his age. His hobbies were also different from other kids. He loved looking at picture books and enjoyed naming every single object he saw. And then he'd make up stories for them. He spoke a little slowly, and other children didn't have the patience to listen. But Lu Ji would cup her chin and quietly listen to him for an entire afternoon. She'd remember the names Ranran gave every single grape. She'd even write wishes with him for the 2 bunny slippers. Now, Ranran's greatest anticipation each day was Lu Ji's visit. When Dr. Zhao found out, she pretended to be jealous, saying that Ranran didn't want to play with her anymore because he had a new friend. Ranran smiled shyly and reassured her. Among all the grown-ups in the hospital, he liked her, Lu Ruyan, and Dr. Chen the most. The most liked? There are so many. Dr. Zhao was unhappy. No, you can only choose one. Or, between Sister Lu and Sister Zhao, who does Ranran like more? Lu Ruyan happened to be doing her rounds right then. She was Ranran's attending physician and had the most contact with him. Though she wasn't as good at joking with kids as Dr. Zhao, she was always very patient when talking to Ranran, and what she said sounded very logical. Ranran trusted her a lot. After a long struggle, Ranran finally honestly said 3 words, Sister Lu. How old are you? How can you let Ranran call you sister? Lu Ruyan chuckles, walks forward, and rubs Ranran's head. It's Auntie Lu, you shouldn't call her sister. Dr. Zhao's reaction was swift. She widened her eyes. Aha, Dr. Lu, you're taking advantage of me. Lu Ruyan ignored her. She ordered a few checkups for Ranran and gave me a few reminders. I noted them down carefully. Okay, thank you, Dr. Lu. Dr. Zhao suddenly casually sighed. You two are too formal. If I didn't know better, I'd never guess you two were high school classmates. My heart sank. I instinctively looked toward Lu Ruyan. Noticing my gaze, Lu Ruyan looked back calmly. Then after half a second, casually looked away. She was neither surprised nor did she deny it. So she knew all along. Oh right. A couple of days ago, someone posted your picture online, and it blew up again. Everyone is asking which hospital you're from. Someone in the comments said they were a schoolmate of yours, and that your confession and rejection after high school graduation was known by the whole school and even went viral back then. Is what she said true or false? Who is the guy? Why can't I find anything online? Dr. Zhao scratched her head. Ranran's dad. Have you heard about this? You don't have enough work, right, sister in medicine? Lu Ruyan casually twitched the corner of her mouth. How about I ask the director to schedule you more night shifts? No. Dr. Zhao shook her head vigorously. I'm going to continue my rounds. Bye. She was certainly quick to run after causing trouble. The atmosphere went silent. Lu Ruyan waited a moment. If there's nothing else, I'm leaving. I have another surgery soon. Also, Ranran's surgery is next week. We will redo a comprehensive check-up and evaluation before the surgery. This operation carries a high risk, so it would be best to call Ranran's birth mother. I don't know if it was because the past was brought up, but Lu Ruyan's voice was laced with coldness. The child has been hospitalized for so long, and she hasn't shown up once. How can she be a mother? Such an irresponsible woman. And take care of her child and family. Her tone was quite harsh, and her words were not polite. After she left, Ranran whispered to me, "What's wrong with Auntie Lu?" I gently pinched his cheek. Auntie Lu probably recalled some bad memories. Bad memories related to me. That summer, 8 years ago, in the empty room behind the number 9 middle school auditorium. 18-year-old Lu Ruyan had laid her heart open before me. Her eyes were bright as she handed me her college entrance exam scores and her university application, asking which city I planned to go to. Her ear tips were flushed. She said if she could, she wanted to go with me. Wherever I went, she would go too. She had so easily and directly put her future into my hands, asking if I was willing. How did I answer then? Oh right, I said. I'm sorry, but my girlfriend isn't willing. In that instant, all expression froze on Lu Ruyan's face. She stood stunned for a long time, then asked, when did that happen? It was the first time I'd seen that look on her face, cautious, with a hint of hurt. Last night. I looked away. Lu Ruyan's eyes reddened. She asked me, almost instinctively, if I had only been sooner. The half-sentence was interrupted several times. That was probably the most undignified plea of her life. Impossible. I cut her off coldly. I don't know if you've misunderstood something, but I don't want to go to the same city as you, and there is no possibility between us. I said, whether in the past or now, regardless of whether I have a girlfriend, I will not be with you. There were many ways to refuse, but I chose the most hurtful one. To make things worse, neither of us noticed the microphone someone had carelessly left on the table. Our conversation was clearly broadcast to every corner of the campus. In just half an hour, Lu Ruyan went from being the outstanding graduate, giving a commencement speech, to the target of people's jokes and ridicule. The recording spread wildly in various group chats, especially among the girls who had always secretly envied and disliked Lu Ruyan, but only dared to smile politely due to the Lu family's influence. They never tired of bringing it up, mocking Lu Ruyan's taste while imitating my tone. It was as if Lu Ruyan's failure finally allowed them to breathe a sigh of relief. The recording even made it online later. People online were even nastier. Some cursed me, calling me cold-blooded and heartless, and a worthless person. Eventually, the Lu family must have intervened, and everything was silenced. 27-year-old Lu Ruyan had probably not thought of this foolish past in a long time. It was inevitable that she would feel displeased when it was suddenly brought up. As for me, I didn't regret rejecting Lu Ruyan back then. I just always felt a little sorry. Sorry that I was the person standing there, and that I wasted such rare sincerity and genuine feeling. But it's a good thing Lu Ruyan didn't lose her capacity to love. I recalled how I had accidentally overheard Dr. Chun on the phone with a wedding planner during lunch break. When he saw me, he cordially invited Ran Ran and me to attend his wedding. We've known each other for many years, but for various reasons, we never got together. I could tell he was very happy. His expression was gentle and resolute. After realizing how we felt this year, we didn't want to waste any more time and decided to get married right away. That's great. A happy ending for true lovers. Congratulations. I smiled and offered my best wishes. After feeding Ran Ran dinner, I took my laptop and found an empty stairwell. I repeatedly opened my bank balance, 2,925.67 yuan. Then I opened my contact list and scrolled up and down, back and forth, over and over, scrolling aimlessly. I remembered 8 years ago, the day I checked my scores, I was very happy. My score was 20 points higher than I had estimated. Carrying the last 100 yuan I had, I wandered the streets for a day and finally bought 3 hamburgers at 14 yuan each. But when I returned home, the door was wide open and the inside was a mess. Everything was smashed to pieces, not a single whole tile remained. That day, clutching the cold hamburgers and a 58 yuan bill, I sat bewildered in the stairwell outside my home for 3 hours, just like now. Later, starting in college, I worked non-stop to earn money. Aside from classes, I spent every day either at a part-time job or on my way to one. All the money I earned, besides my living expenses, was sent back to my brother. In my senior year, I opened an online store. I studied computer science for both my undergraduate and graduate degrees. As long as it made money writing code, cleaning computers, installing software, I would take any job. To take care of Ran Ran, I never took a job after graduation. My online store barely covered our daily lives and medical bills. Until last year, when Ran Ran suddenly relapsed. Just a few days in the ICU had already drained all my savings. Ran Ran was still in the emergency room, waiting for surgery. That night, I called everyone in my contact list for money. Classmates I'd barely spoken to, familiar clients, and even the biological mother who abandoned me. I borrowed 60,000 yuan. I also borrowed 150,000 from Xinyuchu, for a total of 210,000. It took me a full year to pay it all back. And this time, I needed 400,000. My phone suddenly rang. It was an unfamiliar number from Nanxing. I didn't hesitate to hang up and block it. Fortunately, Xinyuchu seemed to be occupied with something lately, and she hadn't called again. Finally, I dug out the business card from my bag. Mr. Zhang, what you said, I accept. I lowered my voice. The information you want, I can send it to your computer before dawn tomorrow. But I need 800,000 in a single transfer. After hanging up, I sat in a daze for a while. As I packed up, ready to leave, I turned around. Lu Ruyan was standing in the stairwell, silently watching me. It was raining. Fine winter rain was drifting in through the partially open window, carrying a bone-chilling cold. Are you planning to get Ranran cured and then put yourself in jail? 40,000 for the treatment, and the remaining 40,000 to secure his future. Lu Ruyan had heard everything, just as I thought. Her voice was level, but I somehow felt that she was very angry. I pressed my lips together. I didn't try to explain, and I couldn't. You planned this all along, didn't you? From the moment I told you there was a chance for surgery. My prolonged silence finally exhausted Lu Ruyan's patience. She let out a soft sneer, which easily startled the sound-activated light above us back to life. Yifan, if I had known this might be the outcome, I never would have agreed to do this surgery for you. I suddenly looked up. I had been so focused on the money. Now I suddenly realized Lu Ruyan had the absolute right to refuse the surgery, especially after she found out about this. As the youngest and most promising doctor in the entire second hospital, she had absolutely no need to take on this high-risk surgery with questionable funding. I'm sorry, I said stiffly. Ranran is my only son. I know this is wrong, but I truly can't lose him. Lu Ruyan remained expressionless, saying nothing. My heart was frantic. I kept my voice low, practically begging. If the truth comes out, I promise I won't involve you. Can you agree? Lu Ruyan didn't hesitate, saying word for word, no. My eyes instantly went red. What do I do? Ranran finally has a chance to be cured. I didn't dare let my emotions take over, so my mind raced to find another solution. However, before I could speak again, Lu Ruyan added, check the treatment card. I didn't understand at first. I blankly opened my phone. The account balance on the treatment card showed 500,000 yuan. Why didn't you come to me? We are classmates, after all, aren't we? The overhead light fell on Lu Ruyan's lashes, shadowing the emotion in her eyes. She seemed to want to say something, but finally just sighed. Take the money for Ranran's surgery first. Don't feel burdened. It wasn't until Lu Ruyan handed me a tissue that I slowly realized I was crying. Afraid of Ranran seeing, I hadn't shed a tear in these difficult years. But now, they seemed to be beyond my control. They kept flowing. The records showed that the 500,000 had been transferred a few days ago. But I was too busy caring for Ranran and hadn't noticed the notification. Lu Ruyan shoved the whole pack of tissues into my hands. Her voice was muted, and she seemed a little at a loss. Stop crying. I didn't mean to be harsh, I was just worried you didn't understand the seriousness of the situation. When she was silent, I was okay, but the moment I heard her voice, my tears burst forth again. The rain outside grew heavier, and I could finally hear its sound on the leaves. I just suddenly remembered. It's been 10 years. From the first time I saw Lu Ruyan when I was 16 to now, 26, a decade has passed. And that first meeting with Lu Ruyan 10 years ago also happened during a fine rain that dampened one's lashes. The difference was that the season then was a sultry midsummer. And the me from back then was still carefree, with a very happy little family. I was like any ordinary boy my age. I would go to the bathroom with friends' arms around my shoulders, gather to rush homework, and gossip about the famous figures from the 49 middle schools in the capital. Among them, the 3 words I heard most often were, Lu Ruyan from the neighboring No. 9 middle school. Not only did the boys in class bring her up, but the chemistry competition teacher would always lament, if only Lu Ruyan was at our school. The girls on the badminton team would say seriously, we have to play against Lu Ruyan from the next school this time. The online forum was full of daily discussions about who had seen her off campus. Later, I tested into No. 9 middle school for the high school entrance exam. That was my first day at No. 9, and also the 4th year Lu Ruyan had spoken as the student representative at the opening ceremony. I was squashed in the crowd below, a dense, stuffy, and sticky sea of people, and I finally saw the legend. The white-haired old principal's speech was ridiculously long. It started to drizzle, and he still wasn't done. The leaders under the canopy sat comfortably, as if they couldn't hear the rain and the unrest in the crowd. 2 minutes later, when the old principal finally slowly finished his speech, all the students, except for Lu Ruyan, had soaked hair. The next speaker was Lu Ruyan. After the dean of students announced, please welcome the top-scoring freshman in the high school entrance exam, Lu Ruyan, to the stage. She took the microphone and walked to the center of the podium. Then, in full view of everyone, she casually tucked her speech into her pocket and only said 6 words. It's raining. Dismissed. The cheers were deafening. The dean of students was furious, snatching the microphone and shouting, "No one is to leave." Unfortunately, no one listened to her. Thousands of students vanished instantly. Meanwhile, Lu Rian stayed alone on the stage and was lambasted for 2 hours. She was penalized with a 3,000-word self-criticism. In truth, Lu Rian didn't want to show off or challenge authority. She took the punishment and the scolding, and she didn't talk back the whole time. She simply hoped others wouldn't get rained on as much, that's all. And the following week, when Lu Rian was reading her self-criticism, it happened to rain again. She smiled helplessly on the stage. "I won't read it. I'll write a new one tonight." The audience understood, burst into laughter, and dispersed instantly. Long after the event, people at Number 9 Middle School would still talk fondly about the dean of students who nearly fainted, how for 2 years no one dared to let Lu Rian step onto the podium and the auditorium the school built overnight. However, the story about the second rain was only a rumor I heard. Because I didn't come to school that day. I was at the police station. And from that day on, for 10 whole years, after the changes in my family, I traveled far and wide, from north to south and back north again, suffering through hardships and the separation of loved ones. Over that decade, everything changed, and the world around me was no longer the same. I never expected that the only thing that hadn't changed would be Lu Rian. She was still the same person as 10 years ago, a brilliant, wonderful, wonderful human being who shone brightly. That's good. And it's a blessing that such a good person didn't end up with me back then. "Thank you, Lu Rian," I whispered after a long pause. "I didn't put on an act and refuse. I really needed the money." "Don't be so polite. We are classmates." Lu Rian pulled the business card out of my hand. "But I'll take this." "Okay." I took out paper and a pen from my backpack, insisting on writing Lu Rian an IOU. After glancing at it, she couldn't help but laugh. "You fan? I'm not a loan shark. Also, I don't need the money urgently. You have a child to raise, so don't rush to pay me back." She took the pen, added a 0 after the 2 years I had written, and crossed out the interest. "No, you've helped me so much already. I should pay you back as soon as I can." I thought for a moment. "Consider the interest a wedding gift for you and Dr. Chin's new marriage. And thank you for taking care of Ran during this time." "What?" Lu Rian looked as if she suddenly doubted her hearing. A look of surprise and bewilderment appeared on her face. "Who's getting married? What Dr. Chen? Are you talking about me?" However, I was even more bewildered than she was. Our eyes met. Lu Rian seemed to understand something. "Zhao Yu? Did she say something to you?" She gritted her teeth. "Dr. Chen and I told her so many times that we're just regular friends. She simply wouldn't believe it and had to make up her own story." "Oh, I see." I laughed awkwardly. "Well, then consider it an early, I'm single." Lu Rian cut me off directly. "I haven't had a boyfriend, I won't be getting married anytime soon, and I don't need your gift." "All right." I thanked Lu Rian again, but secretly decided to pay her back as soon as possible. "Is that woman? Is she busy with work?" Lu Rian suddenly asked as I was about to leave. It took me a moment to realize who Lu Rian was referring to. "Her? Yes, she's usually quite busy with work." Lu Rian nodded thoughtfully. "I understand Ran's medical history and surgical details. I estimate that, besides this time, his previous heart disease treatments cost somewhere between 500 and 600,000. Based on your own repayment plan of 400,000 in 2 years, plus living expenses, your previous income should have just about covered all your spending. If I may ask, what about her?" Lu Rian's eyes were very dark, like thick ink that wouldn't diffuse. "Does that woman earn money and not spend it on you? She can't come to the surgery, and she won't even pay for Ran's operation? I don't mean to interfere in your life, but that kind of mother role and widow parenting is too detrimental to a child's development." She paused. "Or, there's another possibility." She stared steadily at me. "Have you actually divorced her?" When Lu Ji shoved a bank card into my hand, I was startled. "Where did you get so much money? She's only 6 years old. No matter how wealthy the Shuns are, they wouldn't just give a 6-year-old hundreds of thousands as pocket money. Besides, I'd heard that Mrs. Lu only liked Lu Weiwei and wasn't too fond of the daughter she'd had with her ex-husband. My stepdad gave it to me. She looked perfectly sweet. It's just enough for Ran's surgery." I couldn't help but laugh. "I bet you dug a trap for Mr. Lu to fall into again. Smart little thing." Thank you. But Ranran's surgery fees are paid. You should keep the money for yourself. You're still young. Don't do things like this again, and be careful with your stepfather. Okay. I don't know if it was my imagination, but Lu Ji's tone sounded slightly unwilling. It was Saturday. Lu Ji spent the whole day playing with Ranran at the hospital and promised to come back tomorrow. Ranran was overjoyed. After watching the two children finish dinner, I went out to get some water. I didn't expect that in just a moment, another person had appeared in the ward. My face changed. I walked quickly and shielded Ranran behind me. Shin Yochu's eyes darkened, and she looked hurt. She wore a black trench coat, with a tall and graceful figure. Aside from being a little thinner, it was hard to tell she had been in a wheelchair for a full 6 months. Shin Yuchu carried the bitter cold from outside the ward with her. Her almond-shaped eyes held a look of loneliness and exhaustion. I just got off the plane and haven't eaten all day. A fan, will you have dinner with me? I was unmoved. If I hadn't personally overheard, 2 months ago, the attending Dr. Shin Yuchu had introduced tell her that Ranran wasn't doing well, and she had casually said, "He can die for all I care, it saves him the trouble of worrying." I might still be fooled by her pretense now. Auntie. Lu Ji's gaze flickered between Shin Yuchu and me. Her face furrowed tightly. You and Uncle Yi. Before Shin Yuchu could say anything, Lu Rian's voice suddenly came from the door. Shin Yuchu. Her eyebrows arched slightly. When did you get back to the capital? Why didn't you tell me? She walked over and patted the shoulder of her best friend, whom she had grown up with and hadn't seen in years, her smile sincere. Did you bring your niece here to play with Ranran? Shin Yuchu didn't answer. She only said calmly, I can take her home in a bit. You brought her, so of course you'll take her home. Lu Ruyan was a little perplexed. She still hadn't suspected any other reason for Shin Yuchu to be here. What happened to your shoulder? Her gaze was sharp. I was injured in a hospital disturbance over half a year ago, but it's almost healed. Ranran seemed to remember that day. He shrank back in fear behind me, clutching my jacket. Lu Ruyan asked for details. You need to be careful with your left shoulder. After all, it affected a nerve. Shin Yuchu smiled gently. I know. By the way, do you still remember Yi Fan? Lu Ruyan took 2 steps forward and stood beside me. You probably haven't seen him in many years. Shin Yuchu's gaze fell between Lu Ruyan and me, and her expression visibly chilled. Of course I remember. I don't need your reminder. And please know your place. After all, he is my husband. She interrupted Lu Ruyan. Someone at number 9 middle school once posted a thread asking, between Lu Ruyan and Shin Yuchu, who do people like more? In the end, Shin Yuchu won by a single vote. The comments section mostly said, Lu Ruyan was great, but the Ice Queen felt unapproachable. Unlike Shin Yuchu, who always had a smile on her lips and made people feel like a warm spring breeze. I used to think so too. It wasn't until the last few months that I slowly realized the stubbornness and madness deep inside her. Let alone me. Lu Ruyan and Shin Yuchu had known each other for 20 years. They practically grew up together. But clearly, in all these years, she had never seen Shin Yuchu like this. You could tell just by looking at Lu Ruyan's expression now. Her expression froze inch by inch, becoming unfamiliar, as if she were meeting Shin Yuchu for the first time. A few seconds later, she laughed with a hint of absurdity. Shin Yuchu, do you know what you're saying? Shin Yuchu ignored the question. Do you want to see the marriage certificate? She lightly lit up her phone screen. Right there was our wedding photo. Lu Ruyan froze completely. It never occurred to her that the woman she had been talking about was actually her best friend. After a long pause, Lu Ruyan managed a small, strained smile. It seems your husband and son aren't exactly thrilled to see you. Ranran didn't know what was happening, but he sensed the wrong atmosphere. He was crouched on the bed behind us, clutching tightly to the corners of both my jacket and Lu Ruyan's coat. Forgive me for this spectacle. I've been so busy lately, I haven't had time for them. Shin Yuchu stepped closer. A fan and Ranran are giving me the silent treatment. Isn't that right, a fan? I took a step back. That's enough. Ranran needs rest. You should leave now. I gripped Ranran's hand tightly. I chose not to expose Shin Yuchu. I didn't want to fight in front of my son. Shin Yuchu paused, then said, Fine. You and Ranran get some good rest. I'll come back tomorrow. She said the words, but never once did she look at Ranran. She was highly calculating. She used to spoil Ranran as if he were her own, all to convince me she was a good mother, even shielding him with her body during the hospital disturbance. But ever since I saw through her true self, she stopped pretending. At most, she'd offer a few empty words of concern. She knew I wouldn't believe her anymore. Children's perception is sharp. At first, Ranran kept asking, "Why doesn't Aunt Shin talk to me?" Eventually, he realized Shin Yuchu disliked him and stopped asking. Ranran's bed was near the door. I moved closer and faintly heard the conversation outside. "Ruyan, I'm sorry about that." Shin Yuchu had calmed down, and her tone was back to that perfectly crafted, innocent voice. "The company's had some issues lately, and a fan has been difficult. I just lost control of my emotions." A silence fell outside. "When did this start?" Lu Ruyan said meaningfully. "Don't tell me you've liked Yi Fan since high school, Shin Yuchu. I'm realizing I may never have truly known you. I have been in love with a fan for a long time." Shin Yuchu sounded surprisingly candid. "But you liked him too. I didn't want to compete, you were my best friend. But a fan didn't like you, so what could I do? I followed him south for college. We started as friends." It must be said that Shin Yuchu was masterful at pretense. After that speech, the previous unpleasantness would likely be brushed aside. "I hear your business ventures in the South have been very successful these past few years." Lu Ruyan changed the subject, seemingly to catch up. "Your mother and sister trust you now. The Shin family lets you handle many of their affairs." "I'm just helping out with family business." Shin Yuchu smiled. "I was quite busy recently. Thank you for looking after a fan and Ranran. We'll take you out to dinner as a family soon. It's been so many years." "Busy?" Lu Ruyan abruptly cut her off. "A multi-million business? So busy that your husband and child are in the hospital, and you haven't checked on them once. Where's the money? Did you give it to Yi Fan and Ranran?" "No. What exactly are you busy with?" I was stunned. This was the first time I'd heard Lu Ruyan speak so harshly. She was defending me. Besides, is he simply throwing a tantrum, or did you wrong him so badly that he wants a divorce? Don't you know the truth yourself? When she heard the word divorce, Shin Yuchu's tone sank. "Did a fan tell you? Is it hard to guess?" She said, every word distinct. "If you hadn't wronged him, would he resist you like this? If you had treated him well, would he be this thin? Since you chose to be with him, why didn't you cherish him?" I was startled by the emotion in Lu Ruyan's voice. But the reality between Shin Yuchu and me wasn't what she thought. "This is between a fan and me." Shin Yuchu's tone was chilling. "We will sort it out. You don't need to concern yourself. You're an outsider. You, on the other hand, should hurry up and find a boyfriend. Otherwise, I'll start to suspect you're still carrying a torch for a fan." It was an obvious probe. After a long silence, I heard Lu Ruyan's voice. "What if I am?" I doubted my own ears. How could that be possible? The way I treated her, her forgiving me would have been enough. Still in love? Absolutely not. I couldn't understand it, nor could I believe it. Maybe she was just trying to provoke Shin Yuchu. While that didn't sound like Lu Ruyan, it was still more plausible than her having feelings for me after 8 years. The next day, Lu Ruyan came for rounds, and nothing seemed out of the ordinary. But Lu Ji looked off. Yesterday was too chaotic. I hadn't paid attention to her. Only this morning did I notice she was distraught. She was crouched in the corner, whispering, "Where did I go wrong? Why did he turn out to be my cousin? Is God toying with me?" Her voice was too low for me to hear, but she seemed completely broken. She banged her head against the wall by the door for a while. After Ranran woke and finished breakfast, she acted as if nothing had happened. She opened the picture book. "Which word did we learn yesterday? Let's continue." After playing with Ranran for most of the day, she put away the toys and poked Ranran's cheek. "It's my grandpa's birthday today, so I have to leave early. I'll see you tomorrow." Ranran nodded obediently. "Sister, see you tomorrow." Lu Ji angrily pinched Ranran's cheek. "Don't call me sister." Ranran wasn't afraid and asked with wide eyes, "Sister, why not?" Lu Ji gave up. After a moment, she sighed. "Fine, call me sister." Shin Yuchu sent me a text message saying she needed to handle some matters first and would come see me when she was done. I replied with just one sentence. "Besides divorce, we have nothing to discuss." However, the next day I saw on the news that the Shun family's power had shifted. Major events had transpired at Old Master Shin's 70th birthday celebration the night before. It was all family scandal. Compared to everyone else, I was the least surprised that I was only worried about Lu Ji. When I asked, she looked pitiful. "Uncle Yi, My winter break is starting soon. Can I spend the New Year holiday with you and Ranran? The Shin family is terrifying now. No one's talking to me, and no one feeds me. Last night, my mom smashed the house and threatened to kick me out. Lu Rian couldn't take it and gave her a look. That's enough. Mrs. Lu's issues haven't affected you at all. Besides, she can't have any more children. You're her only flesh and blood. Lu Ji glared angrily at Lu Ruyan that I couldn't help but laugh. You can come see Ranran whenever you like. But you should call me Uncle Yi. Lu Ji immediately became docile. Thank you, Uncle Yi. After reviewing Ranran's latest test results, Lu Ruyan instructed, the next time Shin Yuchu comes, send her to the blood bank. The supply is low. We need family members to donate for mutual assistance before the surgery. Have her draw a few bags for reserve. Draw mine. I'll do it. Lu Ruyan did not hesitate. No. You're too thin. She curled her lips coolly. She's been making major moves in the Shun family lately. She must be in peak physical condition. Let her donate a little more. Otherwise, her role as the easy mother will be too effortless. I hesitated for a moment. Actually, Shin Yuchu is not Ranran's biological mother. Instantly, two pairs of eyes snapped toward me. Lu Ji opened her mouth wide. So, that means Ranran isn't my cousin? Lu Ruyan's eyes were dark and profound. Then where is Ranran's birth mother? Was she your girlfriend from high school? Where did she go? My scalp tingled violently. I finally understood, a lie needs 1,000 more to cover it. Yes, she passed away 3 years ago. Lu Ji looked like she had been holding it in for ages and couldn't anymore. Her mouth stretched into an uncontrollable grin. Lu Ruyan kicked her and cleared her throat with a fist. My condolences. It's alright, it happened a long time ago. And you and Shin Yuchu, when did you get married? About half a year ago. MHM. She acknowledged it. Did the lawyer I recommended last time help you? After guessing I was planning to divorce in the stairwell earlier, she had recommended a top divorce lawyer. Yes, thank you. You've been raising a child alone all these years, it must be hard. I suddenly realized Lu Ruyan and I were standing too close. I could feel the slight vibration of her chest when she spoke. It's fine. Ranran is easy to manage. I quietly took a step back. Yi Fan. Lu Ruyan stopped me, her eyes holding a prolonged, knowing smile. I donated blood the day before yesterday. The certificate can be used for Ranran. A few of my friends also happened to donate this morning. In short, you don't need to worry about this. Just happened, coincidentally. Could it really be this coincidental? I couldn't lie to myself anymore. That day, I wasn't hallucinating. Lu Ruyan, did you? I pressed my lips together, struggling to find the right words. Lu Ruyan seemed to guess what I wanted to ask. This has nothing to do with anything else. I simply like Ranran and wanted to do something for him. We can discuss the rest after Ranran's surgery. Ranran's surgery was scheduled for Thursday. As the date approached, I was sleepless every night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those 8 words from the news. Cardiac arrest, resuscitation failed. Life was fragile and unpredictable. Ranran's surgery had a high chance of success, but the risk was also significant. Lu Ji skipped several days of school in a row to come and play with Ranran every day. She seemed unchanged from before. The only difference was that she was much clingier to Ranran. When Ranran had tests, she would crouch at the door and wait. When he slept, she would nap at the foot of his bed. When he wandered, she followed close behind. It was clear she was terrified of losing Ranran. Shin Yuchu, meanwhile, came once, then hurried away. She had just established herself in the Shin family and had a mountain of things to handle. It wasn't easy for her to leave. That I was relieved. I had no energy to deal with her at this critical time. On the day of the surgery, Dr. Zhao came to take Ranran to the anesthesia room. Lu Ruyan was already inside preparing. She prepared this hot milk and hand warmer for you. Don't worry too much. Lu Ruyan has been constantly revisiting her risk assessment and contingency plans. It took about the time it takes to watch 2 or 3 movies for them to reappear. Then the operating room door slammed shut that we waited for 8 hours. From dawn till dusk, the adjacent outpatient building was mostly quiet. Lu Ji was chewing her fingers raw. The operating room door finally opened. Lu Ruyan removed her mask. The surgery was a success. That was Lu Ruyan's first sentence. Ranran needs to be monitored in the ICU for 24 hours. You can see him tomorrow night. I didn't hear the second sentence. The tension in my heart, which had been pulled tight for so long, suddenly snapped. The accumulated weariness and emotion of all those years flooded me at once. I collapsed right onto the floor. When I woke up, I was in the emergency infusion room. Lu Rian had changed out of her white coat and was sitting on a chair beside my bed, quietly looking through some documents. It was pitch black outside. The four drip silently flowed, drop by drop. What time is it? Where's Ranran? How is Ranran? I struggled to sit up. Lu Rian immediately put down the documents and strode over. It's 11 o'clock at night. The surgery finished just over 3 hours ago. Ranran is in the ICU, and everything is fine. Don't worry. She checked my 4 bag. You passed out from low blood sugar and exhaustion. I gave you 2 bags of glucose. They're just finished. Thank you. I breathed a sigh of relief and quickly wiped away the moisture from my eyes. Lu Rian, thank you for saving Ranran. I truly dread to think what would have happened if Ranran hadn't met you. Lu Rian bent down and removed the needle. You've said thank you too many times. If you really want to thank me, then stop taking late-night jobs. Also, go get a full physical when you have time. You're self-employed, so no one's watching you, but you should get a checkup every year. You have to take care of yourself first so you can take care of Ranran, right? Why did that last sentence sound just like the tone she uses when comforting a child? The night was too quiet, and no one else was in the infusion room, but I suddenly couldn't bring myself to look up and mumbled MHM. Lu Rian opened the takeout box on the table. The porridge inside was still warm. I slowly ate the porridge with one hand. As soon as I finished, Lu Rian took the box away. Then she casually pulled a chair and sat in front of me. My scalp started tingling. I should go check on Ranran. He's in the ICU, you can't go in. Her hand was casually resting on the bed, but it perfectly blocked my path of escape. I realized I was wrong. Lu Rian had changed. 8 years ago, after I rejected her so heartlessly, she would only say, I'm sorry, I'll leave, her eyes red and her voice trembling. But the current Lu Rian was not so easily dismissed. There's one thing I'd like to confirm with you. When I nodded, she paused before continuing. Ranran is O negative, but I just noticed you are AB positive. Type AB blood theoretically cannot produce a type O child. Are you aware of this? I was completely dumbfounded. After a long silence, I finally nodded. Ranran is not my biological son. He is my older brother's child. His mother died from a hemorrhage during childbirth. Lu Rian pressed her lips together. I'm sorry. My brother was very good to me. When I was 6, my parents tried to sell me, and he was the one who brought me home and raised me. Ranran is still too young. I plan to wait until he's older to tell him the truth. I understand. I'll keep your secret. Don't worry. Thank you. But, Lu Rian stared intently at me. You said Ranran's mother was your ex-girlfriend from high school. So, that was all a lie, wasn't it? That person doesn't actually exist, does she? Yes, I admit it. Lu Rian narrowed her eyes and cursed under her breath. That bitch Shin Yu-chu. I knew she was lying to me. She explained, I went to Nanxing. Shin Yu-chu said she ran into you at a restaurant and knew you were working part-time on weekends. I watched you from a distance. And I just happened to see you talking to a girl. Shin Yu-chu pointed to her and said that was your girlfriend, that you were working together, and that you were very happy. After that, she often talked to me about how loving you and your girlfriend were. I trusted her completely and listened to Shin Yu-chu spin this tale for years. I didn't understand. Why did she do that? She was probably afraid I wouldn't let go. Lu Rian said calmly. Her worry wasn't unfounded. I couldn't stop myself from going to Nanxing several times a year. But don't worry, I never intruded upon your life. I just went when I had a day or two off. I didn't have many friends in Germany, so I could just fly back and forth for a day or two and have brunch in Nanxing. I remembered twice seeing a familiar figure on the streets of Nanxing. I thought it was just an illusion from working too hard. She was really there. My heart felt like it was going to pound right out of my chest. I couldn't bear to listen anymore. Lu Rian, I'm sorry I lied to you. But I'm not planning on dating, I never have, and I still don't. I said softly and quickly. All I want now is to raise Ranran properly. Lu Rian didn't seem surprised. MHM, it's all right. I can wait. She joked. I'm 27 this year. I'll be 35 in 8 years. That's fine, not too old. I panicked. No. You have so much going for you. You don't need to waste your time on me. Yifan, listen to me first. Lu Rian smiled. Her normally beautiful and cool eyes were filled with fragmented light. She spoke softly. For 2 or 3 years, I honestly didn't think about you and stopped going to Nanshan. After Shin Yuchu told me you were married with a child, I told myself, I shouldn't think about you anymore, it would be inappropriate. From that day on, it was as if I really had forgotten you. I was consumed by experiments, graduation, surgeries, and work. I didn't think about you once. Not until I came back, until my father pushed me to get married that in that instant, I remembered your name again, and couldn't think of any other name that I finally had to admit it. I was jealous of the woman Shin Yuchu said you married. The thought of her making you breakfast every morning, picking you up every night, and walking hand in hand with you, drove me insane with jealousy. So, Yi Fan, whether I have to pursue you relentlessly this time, or wait another 8 or 18 years, I'm just afraid, and I can't imagine. If there was even a single possibility of spending the rest of my life with you and I missed it, how regretful I would be. Ranran's post-surgery recovery is good. He'll leave the ICU and be discharged in 2 weeks. However, he'll need regular checkups for the next 3 years. I decided to rent a place in the capital first. That way, I could cook nourishing soups for Ranran and easily bring him for checkups. There was another reason. My advisor, hearing I was in the capital, wrote me a recommendation letter to try working at a tech company owned by her friend. I thought it over for a moment and made my decision. Since Ranran needed to start thinking about school, I wanted to earn more money so he could have a stable life. I sold my online store and started looking for housing. Dr. Zhao enthusiastically introduced me to an apartment one of his friends was renting out. The apartment was well renovated, and the complex was very nice. The location was close to both the hospital and the tech company, and there was a good private kindergarten nearby. After seeing the place, I immediately paid 6 months' rent. That was half the money I'd gotten from selling the online store. This was even with Dr. Zhao's friend charging a deeply discounted friendship rate. It wasn't that I couldn't find cheaper or shared housing. My brother and I had a hard life growing up. I didn't want Ranran to live like that. Lu Ji was on winter break. The little kid was worrying about grown-up matters. Uncle Yi, my aunt is truly a bad person. She frowned. I just found out yesterday that my stepdad poisoned my mom. My aunt taught him how. My stepdad is already locked up in a mental hospital. No one in my family can touch her. Uncle Yi, you should remarry quickly with Ranran. She's so ruthless, who knows what she'll do to you too. She pointed to Lu Ruyan doing her rounds. Dr. Lu is great, she's a good person. And the way she looks at you is definitely. I quickly clapped a hand over her mouth. Too late. Lu Ruyan had heard. She paused and gave me a long, meaningful look. After Lu Ruyan left, Lu Ji mused. No wonder you're so busy whenever Dr. Lu shows up. You're either typing or cutting fruit for us. It looks like something has happened. Dr. Lu's eyes just looked so heartbroken. Lu Ji was too clever. I had no choice but to tell her. Your aunt and I are in the middle of a divorce. The grown-ups will take care of things, don't worry. I won't let anyone hurt Ranran. Lu Ji nodded obediently. I understand. Ranran, who was by the window, suddenly turned back, joyfully pointing. Daddy. Sister. Snow. Is it snowing? Ranran had just celebrated his birthday yesterday. He was 4. He could finally go to school and play normally, just like any other child. Lu Ruyan, Dr. Zhao, Dr. Chun, and the nurses on duty in the ward all came to celebrate his birthday yesterday. I bought a very large cake and ordered brocade banners and flowers for the staff. Thanks to them, Ranran had a new lease on life. Ranran wants to touch it. Ranran looked longingly out the window. Sister said snow is soft and fluffy. Not yet. Lu Ji folded a little paper rabbit to distract him. When you get discharged next week, I'll take you to build a snowman. Ranran's discharge date was Little New Year. The snow in the capital was already above our ankles. Ranran, who was born in the south, had never seen snow and was joyfully running everywhere. Lu Ji played with him downstairs for a long time before coming up. I made dumplings, deliberately small and shaped like bunnies. Ranran popped them one by one and was very happy. At 9 o'clock that evening, the Shun family driver picked up Lu Ji. Ranran was worn out from the day and fell asleep without a story that I was just about to take a shower when my phone and the doorbell rang simultaneously. I opened the door to find Shin Yuchu standing outside, looking exhausted. A fan? I'm sorry. I've been too busy to come and get you. I closed the door behind me and stood with Shin Yu-chu in the hallway that we stood in silence. If you're still not going to agree to the divorce, the hearing will proceed as scheduled after the new year. Shin Yu-chu sighed. A fan? Is there nothing else we can talk about? I don't understand why things turned out this way about a year ago. Shin Yu-chu and I were still close friends. Only Shin Yu-chu and I from our high school class were admitted to Nanchung, and we were in the same school and major. We slowly started interacting. She'd ask about freshman life, coursework, or for small favors. She always appeared at the perfect moment, not too often, but not a nuisance. She knew her boundaries. We were both busy all 4 years of college and didn't have our first meal together until near graduation. I heard she was going back to the capital and wanted to thank her for getting me several part-time jobs in college. But at dinner, she sadly confided, I can't go back. My elder sister distrusts me and doesn't want me in the capital. She later started working for the Shin Group, and I continued graduate school. We both got busy, but we'd have dinner once or twice a year to catch up. Our relationship wasn't particularly close, but I had few friends. Over the years, Shin Yu-chu had become one of my few trusted friends who knew my background. When Ranran was born during my second year of graduate school, I was overwhelmed. Shin Yu-chu helped me immensely. So, later, just last year, when Shin Yu-chu asked if I would fake a marriage to help her deal with her family, I hesitated for a moment and then agreed. She said the son of a powerful family in Nanchung wanted to marry her. Her mother naturally wanted her to marry for alliance and gain support. But the rest of her family opposed it and were planning to eliminate her if she secured such a powerful spouse. Shin Yu-chu said, just 6 months to convince her family she lacked ambition and persuade her mother to drop the marriage idea. Unexpectedly, shortly after we registered our marriage, I found my high school ID card among her belongings. Shin Yu-chu's behavior had never betrayed her feelings. I never suspected she liked me. I would never have agreed to the fake marriage otherwise. I began to avoid her. I didn't contact her again except to pay her back. Shin Yu-chu was very demure and didn't press me, only sadly saying, sorry I scared you. She even offered to end the marriage agreement early. That day was Ranran's discharge date. Shin Yu-chu said she'd visit him and then go get the divorce certificate. However, halfway through Ranran's final checkup, my online store was suddenly reported for illegal operations, and I had to deal with it immediately. Having no choice, I entrusted Shin Yu-chu to take Ranran for the rest of his tests. She agreed, saying there wasn't enough time and she could drive Ranran straight to the Bureau of Civil Affairs to meet me. But I waited a long time at the bureau that day. In the end, I only received calls from the hospital and the police. They said someone committed a stabbing at the hospital that afternoon. Shin Yu-chu, shielding Ranran, was stabbed 3 times from behind, 2 in the left shoulder, 1 in the back. Shin Yu-chu was in the ICU, fighting for her life for 3 days. Outside the room, I was crushed by guilt every single day. The doctor said the stab wound in her back damaged her spinal nerve. She might never walk again. I immediately took her hand. I'll take care of you forever. I never brought up the divorce again. I stayed at the hospital and helped Shin Yu-chu with her rehab for 6 months. The day Shin Yu-chu stood up again, I asked her, do you still want a divorce? Shin Yu-chu panicked. Are you leaving me? I was just afraid you'd regret it. I said, since you don't want a divorce, let's take wedding photos and have a proper wedding. I was honest with her. Right now, I only feel guilt and gratitude toward you. But I will be responsible for you for the rest of my life and make a good life with you. Shin Yu-chu's eyes were red. She laughed and cried. Okay, I'll wait for the day you truly fall in love with me. The very next day, I overheard her conversation with Ranran's attending doctor. That flippant, utterly disgusted phrase, he can die for all I care, made me seriously doubt her. Was that really the Shin Yu-chu I knew? Would she truly shield Ranran from danger? Driven by suspicion, I investigated the stabber, who was sentenced to life in prison. His son suddenly acquired an apartment a few months prior. I secretly investigated Shin Yu-chu and realized she was nothing like the harmless person she pretended to be. She had been lying in wait for years. She already controlled most of the Shun family's power in the south. Her family could no longer easily oppose her. During the months she spent in physical therapy, she pretended to be depressed while secretly taking advantage of her family's relaxed guard. She set a trap and then delivered the fatal blow at Old Master Shin's birthday feast. When I laid the evidence out in front of Shin Yu-chu, She tacitly admitted it. But she refused to divorce. A fan. It's been so cold with the snow. My shoulder hurts badly. I can't sleep at night. Shin Yochu's voice was very low and sounded pathetically desperate. 6 months ago, I would have taken full responsibility for her. But now, when you orchestrated this whole elaborate scheme, didn't you consider the possibility of getting hurt or even killed? Shin Yochu's eyes darkened. A fan? I'm not a good person. Growing up in the Shin family, if I had been truly naive, my cousins would have eaten me alive. But all I ever wanted was to keep you by my side, that I never intended to hurt you. What about Ranran? You never wanted what was best for him, did you? You just used him as a tool. You knew Ranran had a weak heart and couldn't be startled, yet you put on that whole performance in front of him. You knew Lu Rian might be able to cure him, and you even referred Lu Weiwei to this hospital. Why did you never tell me? What was going through your mind when you said, "He can die for all I care"? You were thinking that this nuisance should disappear already, weren't you? Shin Yuchu paused, looked at me, and said nothing. Shin Yuchu, your body is nearly recovered. The Shin family is under your control. There's no reason for you to keep clinging to me. I was weary. You should know that I will divorce you no matter what. I'll tell you why. Shin Yuchu abruptly cut me off. She leaned in and pressed down on my shoulders. I was startled and tried to pull away. But her next words rooted me to the spot. Because you're in love with Lu Rian. She stared into my eyes, every word distinct, like a clap of thunder in my mind. You've been in love with Lu Rian for 10 years, so much that you were walking on eggshells. You were even afraid to look her in the eye when you were desk mates. So in love that you'd rather reject her than let her ruin her future by being with you. So in love that you checked the German weather every day for years, yet never once dared to ask me about her. The only reason you readily agreed to a fake marriage was because you knew you wouldn't fall for anyone else. So marrying anyone was meaningless to you, wasn't it? Shin Yochu's eyes were flushed red. Her hand tightened on my shoulder involuntarily. Let go of me. I cried out in pain and struggled fiercely. But it was useless. She seemed completely lost in her own emotional storm. You were too close to the situation to guess each other's feelings. But I was sitting right behind you back then. How could I not see? Lu Rian knows I lied to her, right? But she can't figure out why I only lied about her, and why I was so vigilant about her. It's because you love her. And I want Ranran to get better soon. No one wants him to recover more than I do, except for you. How easy would it be for me to raise another child? But his illness just wouldn't get better. Do you know how terrified I was when Lu Rian told me she was coming back? She sounded like she was asking me, yet also talking to herself. So, a fan, tell me, what was I supposed to do? Why did Ranran have to have heart disease? Why did Lu Rian have to be a cardiac surgeon? And why couldn't she just stay abroad forever? Suddenly, someone grabbed Shin Yuchu by the collar from behind, violently threw her aside, and punched her in the face. What are you doing here? Shin Yuchu recognized the person, her face turning cold. She immediately lunged to attack Lu Rian. I didn't have time to be shocked by Lu Rian's sudden arrival. I instinctively stepped in front of her. Lu Rian's hands were meant to save lives. If she were injured, if she could no longer hold a scalpel, countless patients like Ranran would lose their hope of recovery. Shin Yuchu stared blankly at me. After a long time, she let out a bitter laugh. See, a fan? How could I dare bring you to the capital? How could I let you see her? You've only been reunited for less than a month, and I've already lost everything. What are you doing here? Lu Rian looked like she had run all the way from the hospital, still out of breath. In this cold weather, she was sweating. She took a few deep breaths and pointed to the door at the other end of the hallway. This is my home. I found it hard to believe it was a coincidence. Then Lu Rian unlocked the opposite door with her fingerprint right in front of me. There were only 2 units on this floor. I looked inside and saw the exact same sofa I had in my rental unit and fell silent. No wonder I felt it was too lucky when I looked at the apartment. The curtains, rug, and decor were all in my favorite colors, and the second bedroom was a fully furnished children's room. Lu Rian rubbed her nose. Would you believe me if I said this was a coincidence? I bought both units together. I figured since they were empty, I might as well rent them out for some income. And it just so happened I rented to you. It really is a coincidence. I don't know why. My chest felt tight, and my eyes were burning. Actually, what Shin Yuchu said wasn't entirely true. I did love Lu Rian. The rain from that day when I was 16 had fallen in my heart for a very long time. But after graduation, aside from occasionally being lost in thought right after moving to Nanchang, I'd think about everything related to Lu Ruyan and compulsively watch videos about Chinese students in Germany. But later, especially after 6 months, I rarely thought of Lu Ruyan. Because I didn't have time to daydream, and because I knew better than anyone, we came from two different worlds. My dream had ended long ago. 8 years passed. Now, when I thought of Lu Ruyan's name, all that remained in my heart was a faint ripple of regret, like the wind on a lake. Later, when I ran into her at the hospital and saw she had become an exceptionally skilled and respected doctor, even that tiny bit of regret vanished. I had truly moved on. I was really close to completely forgetting Lu Ruyan. But somehow, 8 years later, Lu Ruyan kept coming back into my life. It's true, Lu Ruyan said, afraid I wouldn't believe her. I'm making an investment and need cash flow, so I specifically asked old Zhao to rent out my units. She lowered her eyes. If you don't want to see me, I can move somewhere else. Lu Ruyan suddenly reminded me of the stray cat that liked me in college. It would always be carrying a bit of food or a flower and waiting for me on my way back to the dorms. If I walked away, it wouldn't meow or try to follow me. It would just politely follow me about a meter away, all the way to the dorm, before turning and leaving. I sighed inwardly. No, I believe you. Then I remembered something else. There's still 82,900 yuan left of the money you pre-deposited on the medical card. I have a little money left. Once the refund comes through, I'll transfer 100,000 to you first. There's no rush. I'm not. Lu Ruyan stopped mid-sentence as she realized what she'd just said. The rest of the sentence was stuck in her throat that I finally couldn't help but smile. Lu Ruyan raised an eyebrow. By the way, Yi Fan, what did Xin Yuchu mean by those last things she said about losing everything? I looked straight ahead, ignoring her. I don't know. She must be talking nonsense. Oh, really? Lu Ruyan let out a soft laugh. Oddly, she didn't press the matter. All right, get settled and rest early. As for Xin Yuchu, I've given her something to occupy her time. She won't have time to bother you anymore. The next morning, just as I was about to leave the apartment, I ran into Lu Ruyan returning from her run. She seemed to know what I was going to ask. I'm on leave until the second day of the Lunar New Year. We're short-staffed, so I was assigned to the holiday shift. I nodded. Lu Ruyan handed me the bag she was holding. These are the best steamed mini buns from the street outside our complex. I bought a bit too much by mistake. Try some with Ran Ran. The transparent bag held 3 kinds of breakfast, enough for 4 people. I pressed my lips together, unable to speak. The elevator dinged, open, and Lu Ji rushed out, clutching her backpack with one hand. Dr. Lu. She nearly collided with Lu Ruyan. Her eyes darted between us twice. She seemed to have figured something out, but she didn't mention it. That smells great. Isn't this from the bun shop that was so popular last year you had to wait forever? Uncle Yi, can I have breakfast at your place? I didn't have time to eat before leaving this morning. I took the bag from Lu Ruyan. Come on in, both of you. Ran Ran had just woken up and was thrilled to see them. Yesterday, when he was discharged, Lu Ruyan and Dr. Zhao were both in surgery all day. He only had time to say goodbye to Dr. Chun. He was still mentioning it last night. Now he saw them this morning. After Lu Ji learned Lu Ruyan lived right across the hall, she clung to her. Dr. Lu, can I stay at your place for half of winter break? I can pay rent. I can also do chores, laundry, cooking, cleaning, everything. I won't disturb you at all. I just need a small bed to sleep and shower in at night. Lu Ruyan gave her a sideways look. Your aunt. Lu Ji instantly looked dejected and pitiful. Now my aunt is suspicious of even me. My grandfather has been planning to send me south for a few years. Lu Ruyan mused for a moment and agreed. There is an extra small room. You can move in directly. After breakfast, Lu Ruyan showed us around her apartment. Her unit was larger than ours and had an extra room. She had only moved in a few months ago after returning to work. Just as she said, one room only contained a bed and a closet, nothing else. In the afternoon, Lu Ruyan and I took the 2 children to a nearby mall to buy daily necessities and a desk and chair set for Lu Ji's room. The whole way, Ran Ran and Lu Ji chattered away, discussing how to decorate the room. I noticed that Lu Ji only acted like a 6-year-old when she was with Ran Ran. She had ignored the other kids in the hospital who wanted to play marbles or phone games. But she could whisper for ages with Ran Ran about which design of desk and sheets to choose. Lu Ji initially picked gray silk bedding. Ran Ran took one look and obviously thought it was hideous. But he didn't want to say it directly and muttered delicately, "It doesn't have any pretty pictures." Lu Ji reluctantly put down the gray silk and pointed to a big bad wolf-themed cotton sheet set. She asked Ran Ran what he thought, but Ran Ran's eyes suddenly welled up. I quickly explained, "He has 2 bunny toys and wanted to give you one yesterday. If you buy the big bad wolf sheets, he's afraid his rabbit will get eaten." Lu Ji scratched her ear. "But this wolf eats sheep." Before she finished, seeing Ran Ran's tearful expression, she immediately changed her mind. "I suddenly think the carrot-patterned sheets look better." When we finally left the store, the sun was about to set. The trunk was stuffed full. Lu Ji's desk wouldn't arrive until tomorrow. Lu Rian suggested we grab a quick meal and then drop Lu Ji off at home. She then drove for an hour, winding through back roads to find an extremely secluded private kitchen. Ran Ran had just had surgery and couldn't eat many things. This place has a mild flavor, and the soup ingredients are perfectly cooked. Try it. After dropping Lu Ji off and returning to the complex, it was past 9 o'clock. The instant I got out of the car with Ran Ran, my hair stood on and I whipped my head around. Lu Rian immediately sensed my discomfort. "What's wrong?" A long time passed. The underground garage was still quiet. Nothing, probably just my imagination. As we took the elevator, I suddenly remembered someone. Calculating the time 4 years had passed, it was almost time. The next day, Lu Ji brought all her things. Her belongings were moved into Lu Rian's apartment. Her grandfather, the powerful old master of the Shun family who had commanded attention for decades, personally brought her. He must have heard that Lu Rian and Shin Yuchu were on bad terms and wanted to seize the opportunity to get closer to the Lu family. However, Lu Rian maintained a reserved attitude, saying she was just fond of Lu Ji and wouldn't get involved in other matters. The old master didn't mind. He turned and ordered his servants to move the things. The custom-made furniture had arrived yesterday, and there was a constant stream of people in and out of Lu Rian's apartment. It didn't quiet down until the afternoon. Lu Ji and Ran Ran watched a cartoon in the living room, Pleasant Goat and Big Big Wolf. Lu Ji played one episode for Ran Ran, and he was instantly hooked. He refused to move from the television. In the afternoon, concerned about Ran Ran's eyesight, I had no choice but to turn off the television, ignoring his longing gaze. Thankfully, Lu Ji brought modeling clay, and they did crafts together, which distracted him. I sat at the nearby dining table, working on my laptop. Ran Ran needed at least 6 months of recovery. He could start school in September. The tech company boss was very understanding. During the interview, he heard my situation and agreed to let me work from home and communicate online for the first few months. At 4 that afternoon, I had just finished typing the last line of code and was about to go grocery shopping. There was a knock at the door. "Yifan, can I crash your dinner?" Lu Rian stood outside holding a large bag of fresh groceries, her eyes sparkling. "Lu Ji isn't here, so it's just me. My place is too quiet, it's inconvenient to cook for one." I stepped aside to let her in. Lu Rian saved Ran Ran and helped me so much I wouldn't mind cooking for her for years. I've ordered groceries for half a month, and they'll be delivered every morning. Don't go out unless you have to during this time. Her expression turned serious. I checked with building management. They confirmed a suspicious person entered the parking garage last night. She pulled out her phone and showed me the security footage. It showed a woman who was slightly hunched and had a scar on the back of her head. "Do you know her?" Just as I feared. I glanced back at Ran Ran, who was playing attentively. I lowered my voice. "That's Chun Xiaorui, my sister-in-law, and Ran Ran's biological mother. She was just released from prison." Lu Rian looked startled. "Should we call the police?" "It's fine for now. I'll be careful. Then tell me when you need to go out, I'll drive you." Lu Rian said she came for dinner. Once inside, she headed straight for the kitchen. "Some of these ingredients are tricky to prepare. I'll handle them. You can wash the tomatoes for me." The groceries Lu Rian brought were expensive. I hadn't even seen some of them before. It seemed her time abroad had been good for her. In high school, Lu Rian couldn't even tell white rice from glutinous rice. Now, her knife skills were excellent, her manner composed. She cut vegetables like an artist. As I handed the washed tomatoes to Lu Rian, our hands brushed. Her hand was delicate and elegant, with clearly defined knuckles. Mine looked rough by comparison. I instinctively tried to pull it back quickly. Lu Ruyan gripped my hand faster. Heat rushed to my face. I panicked. Ran Ran is in the living room. Lu Ruyan obediently let go. Yi Fan, she whispered. Have you had a terrible life all these years? I'm sorry. I went to Nanxing so many times, yet I knew nothing. It's fine. I shook my head. It's just that I suddenly became alone, and it took some getting used to. After high school, my family got into gambling debt, and our house was smashed to pieces. My brother tricked me into thinking we'd flee south together to escape the debt. He sent me south, but he and Chen Xiaowei only moved to a nearby small county. Then I knew. There was no escaping it. He lied to me. He never intended to leave. Was it your sister-in-law's debt? Why was she sentenced in the end? Yes. I kept a neutral expression and quickly summarized. The debt collectors came, shoved my brother, and he had a brain hemorrhage and fell into a coma. She grabbed a knife and went after them, injuring 3 people. Lu Ruyan was silent for a moment. Has she shown up because she wants Ran Ran's custody back? Probably, but I won't give Ran Ran to her. Before my brother passed, he said Ran Ran and I should have nothing to do with her. Right up until the Lunar New Year, Lu Ruyan came over every day to eat. Between lunch and dinner, she was either in the living room playing with the 2 children or sitting across from me, reading journals and doing research. On the 27th day of the 12th lunar month, Lu Ruyan and I took Ran Ran and Lu Ji to the market and bought plenty of New Year's goods. Ran Ran directed the 3 of us on what to do. He told us exactly where to hang the bags full of window decals and lucky knots. Once our apartment was done, we decorated Lu Ruyan's place too. The night before New Year's Eve, Lu Ruyan drove back to the Lu family's ancestral home. She wouldn't be back until the 2nd day of the new year. The next afternoon, people from the Shun family arrived. The old master I'd met before saw that Lu Ruyan wasn't home and Lu Ji was at my place. He frowned and looked around the apartment critically. Ran Ran politely greeted him twice. Hello, Grandpa. The old man acted completely deaf. Finally, his gaze fixed on me. Mr. Yi, I'm a man who speaks plainly and doesn't like to waste time. Some of what I say may be unpleasant, but I hope you listen, as it's for your own good. My wife's family has a nephew who is Lu Ruyan's age. He's handsome and a highly accomplished law graduate from an Ivy League school. He and Lu Ruyan are the perfect match. I can see that Lu Ruyan and you have some kind of relationship. But as elders, even if it means being the villain, we must plan for the younger generation's future. You must understand that families like ours value reputation above all, and we cannot have any scandals. Never mind your background, just the fact that you have a burden referring to Ran Ran. And don't bother telling me you were young and foolish. I've met countless men like you. You're reading too much into this. I cut him off. No one here intends to explain anything to you. I had planned just to humor this ridiculous old man. But he went too far, saying that right in front of a child. First, my son is not a burden. He is more important than anyone. Second, my relationship with Lu Ruyan is none of your business. You can't even manage your own daughter and son-in-law. Aren't you overstepping your bounds? Furthermore, has the Shun family lacked scandals in recent years? No matter how poor my background is, at least I haven't done anything shady. Would you agree? You. The old master flew into a rage. He clutched his chest and pointed a finger at me. Where are your manners? Is this how you speak to your elders? Lu Ji, who had been silent, suddenly spoke up. Grandpa, everything you said to Auntie Lu has been heard. She showed him her phone screen, which displayed an ongoing call. Auntie Lu will thank you personally, I'm sure. Lu Ji smiled politely, showing her canine teeth. Her words made the old master furious. You traitor! There's a good reason why no one likes you. I saw the old master trembling with rage and was afraid he might have a heart attack. I quickly told the driver outside to take him away. After all that, Lu Ji wasn't going home for the new year. I asked her, when did you call Lu Ruyan? Ran Ran called him Grandpa twice, and he ignored him both times. He's been trying to suck up to Dr. Lu lately, so I figured I should call her directly and let her handle it. She was quite the tattletale. Luckily, Ran Ran wasn't upset. He was listening curiously while playing with the fresh dough on the table. Ran Ran had a habit. He drew a sharp line between people he knew and strangers. Irrelevant words from strangers didn't register at all. Especially after learning Lu Ji didn't have to go back to the Shin family. The little boy was ecstatic. The previous unpleasantness was already forgotten. The doorbell rang again. I thought the old Master Shin was coming back. Lu Ji and I exchanged glances. Half a second later, she frantically dialed Lu Ruyan's number. Unexpectedly, the ringtone came from the hallway. The moment I opened the door, Lu Ruyan stood outside, her coat dusted with snow. Ranran and I had never had such a festive New Year's Eve. The two children had showered early, changed into new red clothes, and their hair was styled in two little knots. They looked as adorable as the children in traditional New Year's prints. Before Lu Ji could angrily pull the knots out of her hair, I snapped photos of them for half an hour. Lu Ruyan and I cooked the New Year's Eve dinner together with the dumplings. We had exactly 8 dishes. I didn't expect that when I came out of the kitchen, Ranran's 2 hair knots had multiplied into over a dozen, sticking up like bottle rockets. He was giggling and waving his hands, utterly delighted. Lu Ji was doubled over with laughter. She took a video of Ranran, then contentedly patted his head. "I'll show this to you when you're older." This New Year's Eve dinner lasted a long time. The Spring Festival Gala had already started by the time we finished cleaning up and sat down. Lu Ji found a Ludo board somewhere, and it was perfect for 4 players. Once Ranran learned, he eagerly waited for his turn to roll the dice. He had incredibly good luck. Throughout the evening, he sent Lu Ruyan's and Lu Ji's pieces back to the start 9 and 7 times, respectively. By the time the night grew quiet, it was 11 o'clock. Ranran had wanted to stay up to greet the new year, but he had fallen asleep on the sofa. I carried him back to his room. I asked Lu Ruyan for the 3rd time to return to her ancestral home. Lu Ruyan smiled helplessly. I genuinely discussed it with my parents. "I'll spend the afternoon at the old house, but I'm coming back here tonight." When Lu Ji called me, I was already on my way. I didn't rush back suddenly. "If you insist on sending me away, you'll have to tell my father yourself. He hasn't met you yet." She pulled up her father's video call window and made a move to dial. In a panic, I blurted out, "We've met." A brief silence followed. Meeting Lu Ruyan's puzzled gaze, I slowly repeated, "I've met your father. It was 8 years ago, a few days before graduation." A very cliché scene. Although the nobly dressed gentleman was mild-mannered, his core message was the same as the old Master Shun's this afternoon. I could actually understand him. The thought of Ranran being deceived by a worthless girl one day, or willingly throwing away his future for her, makes me want to beat up every shady girl I see. Lu Ruyan frowned, thought for a moment, then said with certainty, "But 8 years ago, the year of the college entrance exam, my father was abroad on a business trip. I remember clearly he didn't come back for the Mid-Autumn Festival, New Year's, or even my mother's birthday that entire year." I was taken aback. "Maybe he came back secretly without telling you. After all, it concerned your future. He was probably afraid you'd give up studying abroad if I agreed to it." "Wait, I never mentioned this to my father." Mid-sentence, she suddenly realized, "Shin Yuchu." She laughed in disbelief. "The entire time, she was the only one who knew I was going to confess to you and that my family had planned for me to study abroad." Afraid I wouldn't believe her, she immediately dialed the video number. Both I and the person on the other end were dumbfounded. But her father quickly recovered. He smiled and asked if I was Lu Ruyan's former deskmate, and warmly invited me to dinner at their house. His voice was gentle and his elegant composure was something the imposter from 8 years ago, no matter how well dressed, could never have faked. I never imagined Shin Yuchu's scheming started so early. After realizing the truth, besides anger, Lu Ruyan's eyes held a trace of hurt. She thought her best friend had been plotting against her from the very beginning. That I didn't know how to comfort her. After all, Shin Yuchu had been my friend, too. After a while, she asked, "If that hadn't happened, would you have rejected me?" I thought about it. Yes. Why? Lu Ruyan was much shorter than me. Looking up at me, the light catching her lashes, she looked stubborn yet slightly hurt. "You liked me too, didn't you?" I choked up. Who said that?" Lu Ruyan pulled up her call history. "That day, I accidentally overheard your conversation with Shin Yuchu. It turned out the call was from Lu Ruyan. I saw the unfamiliar number and tried to hang up, but the doorbell rang at the same time that in my confusion, I accidentally answered. To think that she heard everything. I wanted the ground to swallow me up." Lu Ruyan simply raised her hand, blocking my escape route again. "Can you tell me about it?" Her voice, however, was completely different from her actions, soft and gentle. Was it because of your family's debt? Or was it because of your sister-in-law? Or did something I said make you feel pressured? If it's about my family, don't worry, my parents are easy to get along with. After a long time, I spoke slowly. It was because I was afraid I would lose you. And things like poverty, distance, disparity, debt, and family, every single one was a reason. They were like holes in the bottom of a wooden boat. The day the boat sank and plunged into the sea, my life would be irrevocably ruined. That it would never be the same. Lu Ruyan, do you know who the most in love couple I've ever met was? You wouldn't guess it was my older brother and his wife. My brother was the oldest, 12 years my senior. He was born with a physical defect. One lower leg was only half developed. Our biological parents constantly exploited him but never took him to a hospital. Not until he met Chen Xiaowei at 17. She was a street punk, but fell in love with my brother at first sight and stopped messing around. She worked at a factory for 6 full months to buy my brother his first prosthetic leg. She woke up early every day and cooked all 3 meals for him, kept them warm on the stove, and then left for work. She stood for over 10 hours on the assembly line every day, earning 6 or 7,000 yuan a month. She gave every penny to my brother. She didn't get home until 10 o'clock every night. After buying groceries, she would always buy my brother a carton of fresh milk, and my brother would wait for her outside, doing his handicrafts. When she returned, she'd help him warm his milk, wash his feet, and dry his hair, while he'd massage her back and shoulders. From the time I was 6 until 16, it was the same every day for 10 years. I hadn't loved anyone then, but the best love in the world I could imagine was right there. 10 years later, Chen Xiaowei's work had left her with chronic pain. She was fired by a heartless boss. She and my brother planned to use the 500,000 yuan they saved over 10 years to start a business. But she trusted the wrong person, and all 500,000 were stolen. When she realized the money was gone, she completely broke down. That amount of money is not even enough to buy a watch for some people, yet it can change an ordinary person's entire life. She refused to leave the house. She wouldn't even speak. She slept all day every day. If my brother or I said a word to her, she would erupt in anger and shout. My brother didn't complain. He started selling breakfast to support the family, while waiting for her to recover. That wait lasted 8 years. In the 3rd year, she finally left the house, but went straight to a casino. The debt collectors came to our house constantly, smashing everything. Sometimes she would be full of regret, kneeling before my brother and slapping herself. But she kept falling back into it. For 8 whole years, my brother waited for her to turn her life around. But in the end, he waited until his death. I don't know if they ever regretted being together. But if it were me, I wish we had never met in the first place. If I knew I would lose them in the end, I'd rather have never started. Outside the window, fireworks suddenly exploded. People downstairs shouted in unison, "Happy New Year!" It was midnight. The new year had arrived. Suddenly, Lu Ruyan's fingertip gently traced my cheekbone. I looked up blankly. When I found out Lu Ruyan liked me after high school, I was mostly confused and thought she was just being impulsive. When Lu Ruyan said she still loved me recently, I was still a bit bewildered and couldn't believe it. But now, perhaps because the warmth of her fingertip was so real and comforting, and her gaze was so focused, I finally felt the reality of her affection. It was as if that girl from 10 years ago had walked down from the stage and walked right up to me. "Yifan, I was wrong. I failed to give you security. I only thought about myself and never considered your concerns." She looked down at me, her voice like wind skimming a lake. "It's okay, Yifan. We'll take our time. All I ask is that you don't dislike me." On the 6th day of the new year, Lu Ruyan drove Ran and me to Dr. Chen's wedding. The bride was his stepsister. The couple had loved each other for years, but faced many difficulties, and only now finally got together. Dr. Zhao went home for the new year, went on a blind date, and met a man she really liked. They hit it off quickly and were already dating. She brought the boy over to Lu Ruyan just to boast. "Huh, I beat you to finding someone." Lu Ruyan snorted. "Hold on to your own boyfriend and stop trying to play matchmaker." Dr. Zhao instantly looked guilty and weak. Ran's dad. "I'm just a busybody who loves setting people up. Don't take anything I said seriously." She muttered softly. "It's a good thing I made up for it, or my sins would have been too great." As we returned to the complex, Before we could drive into the underground garage, someone suddenly darted out from the side. After an emergency stop, Lu Ruyan and I were shaken as we saw Chen Xiaowei, less than a meter in front of the car. Are you trying to get killed? For years in prison had aged Chen Xiaowei significantly. Her cheeks and eyelids were sunken, and her eyes seemed to bulge. My child. Give me back my child. She repeated the phrase endlessly, sounding almost obsessed. She recklessly charged toward the back door. I won't give you the child. My voice was low, like scraping ice. This was my brother's last wish. Ranran will only be raised by me, and you have no claim. Just then, the complex's security noticed the commotion. They quickly escorted Chen Xiaowei away, promising this would never happen again. Fortunately, the car windows were well insulated. Ranran heard nothing inside. I saw Shen Yuchu again a week later. It was the day before the appeal hearing for our divorce. As I went down to throw out the trash, she was leaning against a tree 10 meters away. She looked completely drained, her eyes sweeping over the passers-by with an icy indifference. This was completely unlike her previous persona. Perhaps this was her true self. She noticed me but stayed put. She simply flicked the roll of papers in her hand. Divorce papers. Want them? I walked toward her slowly. You've agreed to the divorce? Shen Yuchu pulled her hand back, ignoring my question. You all know now, don't you? That thing from when we graduated high school. It was a question, yet she used the tone of a statement. You've already met Lu Ruyan's parents, haven't you? A few days ago, Shen Xiting's mother went to the Lu family, trying to push a man onto Lu Ruyan. Lu Ruyan's parents said she already had someone she loved. They even showed him your picture, saying whoever Lu Ruyan chooses is the one the Lu family recognizes. Her tone was calm, but tinged with melancholy. What reasonable parents? If this were the Shen family, if it were my parents, this scene would be impossible. I have to crush everyone in the Shen family before I can openly bring you home. I didn't reply, unsure what to say. She didn't seem to mind, talking casually. Lu Ruyan really is ruthless. To stop me from coming to you, she essentially severed one of the Shen family's arms. I honestly used to think she was only obsessed with her research, oblivious to everything else. She let out a scoff. Oh, and I came by on New Year's Eve. I knew you didn't want to see me, but I saw Lu Ruyan rush back. I saw you celebrating the new year together, watching the fireworks from the window. I used every dirty trick, scrambled and plotted for 8 years, but still couldn't beat her. One last question. If you hadn't heard that one sentence back then, even if you met Lu Ruyan later, you still wouldn't have left me, would you? I should have trusted you. You're so loyal, and keep your promises. You would never have abandoned me. But I was too afraid to lose you. There is no if. I cut her off calmly. If I hadn't heard that sentence, if I hadn't discovered any of this, I would have stayed oblivious. I promised to take responsibility for life, and I would have. For a lifetime. But it doesn't matter now. Because our relationship was a lie, a deception from the start. Shen Yuchu, let's part ways amicably. Whether sincere or not, Shen Yuchu had helped Ranran and me. If she was willing to file for divorce voluntarily, I didn't want to make a mess of things in court tomorrow. Shen Yuchu kept her head down. After a long pause, she finally gave a quiet reply. Okay. The days passed. The new year had come and gone, and winter break was over. Shen Yuchu and I were officially divorced. Lu Ruyan had been swamped recently, often working late. Every day, I'd cook an extra portion of dinner to leave for her as a late-night snack. She said the ingredients she ordered were for 2 weeks, but when the time was up, she'd say another 2 weeks. She ignored my protests, instead raising a hand to pinch my cheek. Finally gained a little weight. Lu Ji mooched at Lu Ruyan's place after the winter break and never left. She even transferred to a nearby elementary school, then proceeded to fake sickness every other day to skip class. Lu Ruyan and I pretended to smack her, and she wailed, "What's the point of learning 1 + 1? I'd rather stay home and play with Ranran." We ignored her, gave her a good smacking, and then dragged her to school. At night, as we were going to sleep, Ranran suddenly whispered, "Daddy, you should marry Auntie Lu." Why? I was surprised. I hadn't expected him to bring this up. Auntie Lu is very nice, and Ranran likes her. Also, Ranran knows Daddy likes Auntie Lu too. Daddy is happy when he's with Auntie Lu, and Ranran wants Daddy to be happy. I patted his head. But what if one day you're not happy anymore? Ranran didn't hesitate. Then break up. I froze for a moment. Spring arrived, and the snow in the capital had melted. Lu Ruyan didn't have to work late anymore and promised to take Ranran kite flying on the weekend. So, Ranran and Lu Ji had been busy for days. They wanted to make a kite themselves. They tinkered for days, finally producing a butterfly kite that looked more like a flapping moth. Ranran had liked it at first, but once it was airborne, it looked more and more like a moth, especially compared to the other kites. In the end, Lu Ruyan took Lu Ji to buy a kite. Ranran and I were waiting for them on the lawn, soaking up the sun. But we waited in the same spot for a long time, and they still didn't return. I called Lu Ruyan. The cold, mechanical voice announced, "The phone is switched off." My heart grew more and more anxious, as if something terrible was happening. The next second, Lu Ji's call came through. I answered, and Lu Ji was sobbing loudly. "Uncle Yi, we wanted to go home and grab clothes before buying the kite. But just as we reached the street in front of the complex, a woman with a scar on her head blocked our car. When Dr. Lu got out to argue with her, she was hit by a car that lost control. Why there's so much blood? Uncle Yi, please hurry." Dr. Lu is already. Lu Ji choked, unable to finish. I don't know how I got to the second hospital. My mind was a blank slate. I didn't know what I was doing or what I should be doing. Lu Ji was waiting for us outside the hospital. Seeing us, she quickly led us to the door of an operating room. Lu Ji's expression was grave. "Uncle Yi, you need to prepare yourself." Ranran's tears spilled out immediately. My arm felt weak. Lu Ji took Ranran from me, bringing him to a chair in the corner to comfort him. I didn't catch what they said, but Ranran stopped crying quickly. I stood outside the operating room in a daze, almost incapable of thought. Several images kept flashing before my eyes. One minute it was Lu Ruyan smiling as she left 2 hours ago, telling me, "Wait for me to come back." The next minute it was on New Year's Eve, Lu Ruyan saying gently, "It's okay, Yi-fan, we can take our time." Then it was a few months ago in the infusion room, Lu Ruyan's calm voice. "I'm 27 this year, 35 in 8 years. It's fine, not exactly ancient." Finally, it was 8 years ago in the auditorium, Lu Ruyan asking with flushed ear tips, "Yi-fan, which city do you want to go to for college? Can I go with you?" It turned out that 8 years could feel so long, yet so short. After a long wait, the operating room door finally opened. I looked at the gurney the nurse was pushing out, hesitant to walk over, until a confused voice sounded beside me. "Yi-fan?" I spun around. Lu Ruyan, who had just taken off her mask, changed expression. "What's wrong? Why are you crying like this? Did something happen?" I stared at her blankly, then looked back at Lu Ji, who was dawdling over with Ranran. My gaze flickered between the two of them, my mind still trying to process what was happening. But Lu Ruyan understood immediately. She grabbed Lu Ji and gave her a beating. "I told you to call Yi-fan and tell him we were safe. What did you do?" Suddenly, Lu Ruyan froze in place. I raised my arms and hugged her tightly, tears streaming down. Thank God she was okay. Thank God I was still in time. Lu Ruyan explained they had indeed run into Chun Xiaowei that afternoon, and an out-of-control car had actually swerved toward them. But she had only gotten a scrape, while Chun Xiaowei was more seriously hurt, having broken a leg. They had originally intended to drop Chun Xiaowei at the hospital and then come find us. But as soon as they arrived, they ran into a patient who urgently needed emergency surgery. Lu Ruyan had told Lu Ji to call and let us know, but she never expected Lu Ji to pull a stunt like this. I awkwardly wiped the tears from my face. Lu Ruyan shot Lu Ji a fierce glare, then turned back and softened her voice. "I was afraid you'd worry, so I didn't plan to tell you about it. It's my fault too. From now on, I'll tell you everything right away, okay? Then I'll deal with that little rascal later." Lu Ji pouted. "Fine." I finally dried my tears and replied dully, "I'm just glad you're okay." Lu Ruyan looked like she wanted to say something, but someone called her from a distance. "Go wait in my office. I'll take you all home in a bit." I went to Chun Xiaowei's ward alone. One of her legs was in a heavy cast, and she lay dejectedly on the bed. Though not yet 40, she looked 50 or 60. "I've paid your medical bills." I looked at her calmly. "Also, I found you a quiet job in the next city over. Go there once you've recovered. Don't come back here again. Ranran is doing well now. There's no way I will give you custody. Or do you want him to live with a gambler, struggling to make ends meet, and fearing debt collectors knocking on the door every day? No, I just wanted to see him." She opened her mouth inarticulately, her eyes reddening. I failed your brother, I failed him and his son. If you truly want what's best for Ranran, you'll follow my arrangement. Work hard at that job. If Ranran ever asks about his biological parents when he grows up, I will tell him the truth. Before that day comes, I hope you can at least give him a dignified, respectable biological mother. As I turned to leave, a sound of choked, regretful sobbing came from behind. The regret might have been real, but it was truly too late. So much seemed to have happened that day, and so much time seemed to have passed. But as I walked past the hospital's glass corridor, I realized the sun was still shining brightly outside. Ranran was at the other end of the hall, playing with Dr. Chun. Lu Ji had slipped up next to me without my noticing, speaking with a tone of premature maturity. The sun might set any minute now. Even the longest spring will pass. If you like her, don't overthink it. You know what I mean, right? She winced and rubbed her backside. Don't let me take that beating for nothing. I couldn't help but smile. She continued, her eyes holding a touch of seriousness and an emotion I couldn't decipher. And don't wait until you've truly lost her to be filled with regret. As I turned, Lu Rian happened to come into view. Lu Ji saw her, bolted, and ran off to play with Ranran. The warm spring light flooded the corridor. Lu Rian strode over, looking a little anxious. Chun Xiaowei didn't attack you, did she? She instinctively gripped my shoulder. I'm fine. Lu Rian let out a breath of relief. She was about to pull her hand away, but the next second, I swiftly grasped it. We haven't bought the kite yet, have we? Lu Rian stumbled over her words. Ah, yes. Shall we go choose a new kite for Ranran together tomorrow? Lu Rian stared at her hand. A few seconds later, her ear tips quietly flushed. But on the surface, she still acted as if nothing was amiss. Then I'll come pick you up tomorrow morning. Let's go home for now. Okay, let's go. Don't waste a single spring, and don't be afraid of wilting. Lu Rian's epilogue fan later asked me when I started to like him. I honestly couldn't pinpoint it myself. I only remember the first time I saw him. At the time, I was being harangued by a panel of school administrators. The dean's spit was almost hitting my face. I subtly stepped back. The school is supposed to train students' endurance. If you can't overcome this small hardship, what will you do when life throws rain at you? I let it go in one ear and out the other, glancing casually below the podium. Suddenly, my gaze fixed on a spot. At the edge of the track, dozens of meters away, there was a slight figure. It was odd the fog was heavy that day, and it was drizzling. I really shouldn't have been able to see that far. But I somehow saw his face clearly. His shoulders were narrow, and a fine, crystal layer of water droplets coated his hair and eyelashes. He looked completely fuzz-like. He tilted his head, watching me get lectured with curiosity. Perhaps he was too focused. It took him 2 minutes to slowly notice my gaze. Then, while pretending to look around casually, he lethargically shuffled toward the academic building. All the students have left now, so what are we going to do? Oh wait, not all of them. There's one more idiot. But after that, I didn't run into him for a long time. Based on where he was standing, I figured he must be a freshman. Whether I was standing on the podium again or passing other classrooms, I'd instinctively look for that figure. But strangely, I could never find him. I searched for him for so long that I even started to suspect that day had been a hallucination. Not until the class reorganization in the second semester of my freshman year. I was dozing at my desk. He suddenly walked right into my sight. Even though I didn't know his name, it felt like a long-awaited reunion, a treasure recovered. In that noisy new class of over 40 people, I pathetically teared up. Yifan asked me again why I suddenly decided to return home. I thought about it. It seemed it was the day Berlin was hit by a downpour. I didn't have an umbrella and was soaked to the bone on the street. At that moment, I suddenly felt I couldn't stand this goddamn place for another second. It was always raining. It rained every day, making everyone irritable. Beijing was better. I suddenly missed its dry weather desperately, and the light drizzle that was a million times gentler than Berlin's rain. So the next day, I resigned and boarded the flight home. I never expected to run into Yifan at the hospital 2 months later. I had rehearsed the scene of our reunion 1,000 times in my mind. Should I calmly say, "Long time no see," or feign nonchalance and walk away? I never expected that when the day arrived, my mind would go blank. I couldn't think of anything. I was even afraid to breathe. I was afraid he'd be blown away by the wind. Why was he so thin? His shoulders were narrower, as if one more grain of sand could crush him. He turned back, holding the child, standing there fragile and helpless, his eyes brimming with tears. I hastily looked away. I didn't dare to look again. Later, when Lu Ji scared everyone that day, I was furious. The thought of Yifan standing outside the operating room, sobbing, looking as lonely, lost, and helpless as he did the day we met. When I got home that night, I couldn't resist beating her up again. She dodged and cursed me for having my cake and eating it too. Humph. Yifan and I will take our time, I'm not in a hurry. She scared my husband like that, and she thinks she's right. The brat grabbed her rear end, gritting her teeth. Fine, fine. While I'm around, don't even think about entering the Yi family door. I laughed out of exasperation. You can't go next door to play with Ranran for a week until your homework is done. Shen Youchu's epilogue. When Lu Ruyan came to confront me, her eyes were filled with anger and disappointment. The last thing she asked before she left was, "How could you have become like this?" Changed. But I haven't changed. I've always been this way. She probably had no idea that the first time we met at age 7, it was actually a careful calculation on my part. My father had no standing in the Shun family to begin with. After he died, even the servants dared to bully and hit me. If I hadn't fawned over the young Miss Lu and drawn a little attention from my mother, I probably wouldn't have known how I died. I've always been like this, plotting every move, resorting to anything. Where's the change? She should know better. What good person could possibly be raised in a filthy place like the Shin family? The first time I noticed Yifan was also because of Lu Ruyan. Before that, I only knew his family sold breakfast, and many students asked him to bring it for convenience. I was surprised Lu Ruyan had joined them. Did the Lu family chef quit or something? She ate sticky rice chicken for a whole month straight, even ordering 2 portions. She insisted I eat it too. Finally, I asked why she only ate this. While picking out the mushrooms, she casually replied, "Because it's the most expensive." Ah, so that's why? Realizing what she had said, Lu Ruyan looked embarrassed and told me to keep it a secret. I agreed with a smile, while becoming interested in Yifan. At first, I was just a little curious about Yifan. I really wanted to know what kind of guy could make Lu Ruyan so obsessed. Yifan happened to be sitting diagonally in front of me. Every time I looked up, I could see his back. His shoulders were so narrow, so thin that it seemed I could crush his shoulder blades with one hand. Few people knew that I was actually very fond of small animals. Not for any other reason, but because they were weak enough to pose no threat. And in Yifan, I surprisingly saw that same commonality. Harmless, fragile, controllable. The day I realized I had fallen for Yifan, I simultaneously discovered a terrible fact. He rarely looked around in class. Yet whenever Lu Ruyan was called on to answer a question, he would quickly glance up at her. He probably thought that as long as he was quick and blended in, no one would notice. Later, they broke up, just as I wished. But Yifan wasn't as easy to approach as I had thought. He was very wary. If anyone stepped closer, he would immediately run off. It took me 4 years just to become a casual friend. Then I used 3 more years to become his trusted friend. I wasn't in a hurry at first. There were no other rivals, so I could just cultivate our relationship slowly. Until Ranran got sick and needed over 200,000. He was so embarrassed to ask me for too much money that he borrowed from others first, only coming to me as a last resort. I realized I couldn't keep slow boiling the frog. So I later tricked him into marriage, and he accepted. I thought we had plenty of time, and that love would grow over time. To my surprise, he found out that I loved him. Just like that, everything reverted to the starting line. During the time Yifan refused to see me, I realized how deeply my obsession with him had taken root. I never had anything growing up. I had to fight and snatch for everything I wanted. I was never an upright person anyway. As long as I achieved my goal in the end, what did it matter if I took risks and used a few tricks? See, at least Yifan didn't leave me again. He even said he'd be with me for life, didn't he? I was genuinely happy that day. Until that night, when Lu Ruyan told me she had returned to the country. I went to great lengths to get him, and because of that great effort, I was terrified of losing him. I could never seem to hold my head up in front of Lu Ruyan, and I even began to loathe the sound of her name. Especially the next day, when Anran's attending doctor told me an expert named Lu Ruyan had returned to the capital, saying Anran's condition was severe and perhaps only she could try. My disgust peaked. Let him die then, so Yifan won't always be thinking about her. My marriage to Yifan lasted 229 days. From the 230th day, I watched helplessly as he tried everything to leave me. After 77 more days, he finally got his wish and left. Actually, there was still a chance. I had even planned to do it. For example, I could use the divorce to appease him first, then take him abroad and lock him up. That way he couldn't leave. But that day, he said to me with a weary face, "Shin Yu-chu, let's part ways amicably." For the previous 77 days, he had been cold, resistant, and furious every time he saw me. It was the first time in a long time he had said my name so calmly. So I agreed. Okay. The year I turned 40, Lu Ji returned to the Shin family. I was the one who called her. Anren had just started university, and the two of them were finally openly together. The rest of the Shin family, including her grandfather and my mother, I had long since committed them to a psychiatric hospital. For years, it had just been her and me in the Shin family. So I told her I was going to settle abroad and hand the Shin family over to her. She paused, then said, "Not interested." She certainly had the capital to be arrogant. Who doesn't know there are two Shin families in the capital now? Take it as a dowry for the Yi family, you can't have too much. She still refused, waving her hand as she left. Fine. Anyway, with just her and me left in the Shin family, my estate would all go to her when I died.